Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome. Welcome to lawsplaining the interwebs, dadsplaining the interwebs, whatever you want to call it. Welcome to it. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, small law firm in central Minnesota. And with me today, of course, is my two guests, Larry Bleidner and Doug TenNapel. TenNapels. He told me to say 10 apple nipples. That's what he told me to say.
TenNapel, not 10 nipples. That would make me a sow, and 10 apples would make me a farmer, I guess.
Oh yeah, and 10,000 apples would make you almost enough to fit into the mouth of Amy Schumer.
Oh.
Whoa!
Or her colostomy bag.
Oh,
Oh!
oh, not an image I wanted. Not an image I wanted. So, gentlemen, thank you for joining me on the sequel, the second episode, if you will, of the Chad Dad Chat. I'm so happy to have you guys back.
Great to be here.
Oh, good to be here. Thanks for having
Great.
us.
Yes, thank you.
So, this is a highly requested return, by the way. Probably the most requested thematic sort of show that I've done. A lot of people wanted the Chad Dad Chat to come back. So, this is our second one. In the future, we will be adding another dad or another guest of some sort. And I've got the next guest lined up. We just need to work on making sure we fit into everyone's schedule with it. And I think people are gonna like him. And it'll be a fun show. But you guys know who it is. But please, no docs.
Yeah, no giving it out because this is going to be juicy.
Yeah. But for tonight, you'll have to settle for three boomers talking about all of our whatever meager life experience we've scraped together and that you guys may find at all meaningful. So you asked me before the show, guys, you asked if I had anything in mind for a topic. And the only thing I've got on my mind today is moving, because I have been moving. My wife and I, we bought a new house. It is very close to our old house. And so we've been moving just piecemeal, one van load at a time. Thank God we have like 10,000 kids. So I have a giant van. We took all the seats out and just we're loading everything into it over and over and over. And it has been.
That's easy because you're avoiding boxing. Then you grab a bunch, you clear out a closet, put it in the van, move it to the other closet.
Let me explain to you how my wife operates in the exact opposite way of that. So she's a boxer and an organizer, and which in turn makes things very stressful for both her, because like that has to happen, and for me because I don't operate that way. So that's the wrinkle. I would love to just grab everything, shove it into the van, and go. But like clothes and kitchen and all that stuff, it just had to go in boxes. So that's actually why we're a few minutes late, is because I was over at my new place trying to help unload a few things before the show started. So
yeah, I pity
now
you.
you're here ready to load up.
What was that, Larry?
And now you're here ready to load up in adult spirits.
What are you drinking? Let's share what we're drinking here.
Yeah, I have the Rabbit Hole Kentucky Rye that I've been drinking for the past couple streams. If you've seen it, it's very good. It was sent to me by a friend of the show, and I very much appreciate it. What about you guys?
I'm doing a Dos Perros. This is a Kentucky beer. I mean, a Tennessee beer. Sorry, this is the Sly Rye Porter by Dos Perros. Nice, dark, any beer that you can't see through that's bitter and foul like life is what I drink. And I'll be working my way to a Basil Hayden's, but I thought I'd start with a beverage. So, Larry?
38 caliber.
Oh, yeah.
Bullet.
Bullet bourbon. A
Yes,
staple.
Staple.
That I actually am lacking in my liquor cabinet. I need to get a bottle of Bullet because every time I'm in the liquor store, I see some, and I'm like, I should probably pick that up.
You should.
It's so affordable and good. That and Monkey Shoulder, I just go right through it. It's the go-to when you want to pour something. Bullet's easy to pour.
Yeah, monkey shoulder. I've not tried it, but I've heard good reviews there's one whiskey sommelier school in the United States, and they are fans of the monkey shoulder, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Well, it's good. It's a that and Buffalo Trace. These are like solid. You buy them and you go through them and they're fine.
Right. You got to have your staple liquors. All right.
Yeah.
So we have a couple ways for the audience to interact with us. That is through the YouTube super chat function, through the chat when you can send money through YouTube and talk to us, ask questions, anything dad related, anything. What I put in the description was basically dad, leading family, being a professional, being a creator, and then just dealing with degenerates and scumbags without strangling people on a daily basis.
Or things like you want to ask your dad, but you could never ask your real dad because it's too embarrassing.
Yes.
You can ask us that.
Good point.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can do that through the super chat function. You can do that through the I renamed it the Super Chad chat on the
Super
request.
Chad.
Yes.
TM.
I guess. I don't even know what it is anymore. That link is in the description of the video. Otherwise, you can also tag us in the chat and we may catch it. We may not. The best way is through the monetization gets you to the front of the line. We'll put it that way.
Always.
But that's the way it goes. We make no apologies about any of that.
Anyone with a life crisis, like you'd pay to get through that life crisis, and we're gonna save you hundreds of dollars. So if you throw him a 50, we're gonna save you hundreds of
right.
just life crisis.
Exactly.
And what's the going rate for a shrink these days per hour? How much are they getting? Anybody know?
Probably 100 an hour.
Oh, it was 100 an hour 20 years ago, Doug. In LA.
Yeah, it was 85 an hour was the joke.
Well,
10 years.
Doug's out.
Probably 150 an hour.
Doug's in the South, so
right.
And you're in the southern part of hell, Larry. So so
Belly of the beast.
Everything's expensive there.
Yeah, the South doesn't even do counseling. It's a sign of you're just madness. They put you in a cuckoo hatch, so no one gets counseling here. That's what's wrong with the South.
Yeah, a neighborhood dad just takes you out back and punches you in the face a couple times, and that's $12.
That's
right.
The best fix. That's the best.
You lose a tooth and you're a little wiser.
Yeah.
That's what you get for asking.
And your whistling improves.
Yeah, go chop wood.
So yeah, absolutely ask us the embarrassing questions, ask us the hard questions. I had a challenging question. I don't actually know the answer to this. So I was going to lean on y'all's experience. Not that I know if either of you have particular experience in this field, or not in this field, but in this I don't even know, dilemma. Okay, so last stream, and I think this is kind of a common theme whenever you get any guys who are kind of Christian or conservative or whatever together. People always want to know what happens if your kid's gay. What happens if your kid is trans or whatever. And we covered that on the last show. We talked about the different ways or the pretty similar ways that each of us might respond to that. The real question for me is not what happens if your kid is gay or trans. That's something that has a whole bunch of implications going into it that may go back to something like birth. It may go back to things or traumas that happened. We don't really, I'm not debating any of the origins of gayness or whatever. We'll accept it. I'm saying for the purpose of argument.
Come from watching CNN.
Yeah. For the purpose of argument, accepting it as an immutable characteristic, because whether it's immutable or not, like the effect on the person, to them it is immutable, right? Yeah. Like that their experience is this.
Even if it's not, it seems immutable. I mean, right. It's pretty there. You're not gonna.
Yeah, and
you're not messing around if that happens. Yeah.
So being like, hey, are you sure? Like, well, I think at this point they probably know. So that's going from that to what if your kid, it just does something that makes them a complete and utter screw up. And I mean on a really big scale where they're doing something, and not like felony charges. We're not talking about like legal ramifications, because there's ways to fight legal ramifications. Let's say your kid does something so stupid that they will be socially and publicly ostracized for their decisions. And my God, I'm trying to think of the example that was
Like went on,
brought up.
went on YouTube naked. I had a friend, and he found out his son was masturbating on YouTube for money,
Ooh,
and he went,
God.
this is a Christian too. He's going like, what? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So that qualifies as a screw up.
You should be doing that at home for free. No.
What do you do when your kid does a major life screw up?
Right. Like, and what do you
Gets a
do?
girl knocked up, or just sits on or steals. Gets caught. My brother got caught shoplifting.
Yeah, but the example that I had, and I'm gonna think about it probably 2 drinks in, and maybe we'll have to come back to it. But it was
like cries publicly on his YouTube channel. That's a total screw up.
Yeah, that's a mundane Matt sort of screw up.
Mundane Matt. What if you're mundane Matt and you weep to everyone online, and you can't take that video back? They've all sampled it, and you want it to go away. That's irretrievable.
Okay, what if your kid is like gosh, I keep going to this different stuff like furry, who does all
furry? No, that qualifies. Furry.
Yeah, furry's good. I'm gonna think of it. But
you're thinking you're gonna disqualify that because they might be born that way. They might be born.
That's why I didn't want to go with
a furry animal.
I didn't want to go with it.
A blue wolf.
But
I think
the blue wolf. We saw what happens. You send him to Saudi Arabia, and they just go ahead and fix that problem.
Yeah.
I mean, the furry thing is a phase, though. I mean, that's like wearing a stupid hairdo or idiotic clothing or whatever. I mean, that comes off. You're looking for some irrevocable fuck up that's going to shadow them their entire life, like what Doug was talking. I mean, somebody who's flogging Molly on YouTube, that's a life sentence. That's not going
like
away,
tattoos a furry wolf across his face. I mean, they could do that. That's not a felony. He tattoos a big furry across his face.
Let's put it in this context. Let's put it in a sympathetic context, okay? Hey, did you guys see the picture of the high school class, the boys' high school class, doing the Roman salute or the seagull at their thing? And now, of course, there's a bunch of people who are like, let's just make sure that these guys can't get into any college. Their pictures are plastered all over every news station.
Oh, wow.
What do you do with that? Like, because for those kids, some of them might have been in on the joke, but from what the reports say, it's like the photographer says, now do the Hitler salute, and they all go, woo, right? And it's this kind of a funny one-time joke, but now it's not a joke anymore. What do you do with that kid? Like, what do you do if someone, like, because that's going to, at the rate our society's going, that's going to hound these kids for the next 15 to 20 years, easy. Yeah. And there's no escape from it. So how do you help that kid? What's the advice that you give? Dad, I don't know if you saw the paper, but I'm in it.
Well,
and I'm doing this.
I mean, is that I saw that photo, Nick, and I'm trying to recall the story. That was a school. What kind of school was it again?
I think it was a public school.
It was a public school. Okay. And was it confirmed that this was indeed just doing a joke, doing the Nazi salute? Was that?
I don't know. That's what I saw. And from what I understand, it was at a school related function, but not at the school. I think it was like at a prom. But
it was Aryan Appreciation Day.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you that part in the article.
Well, it's really funny that you brought this up because a week ago, my daughter is a Catholic school nearby.
Sure.
And they both did. And I rarely go to any church services. I'm one of those, Easter and Christmas guys. But I did go because she was giving some kind of a reading, right? So I met my wife over there, and we sat down, went through the whole deal. And at some point in the latter part of that mass, the priest said, okay, everybody, there were 2 people they brought up who were moving out of the parish, one to Tennessee, Doug.
Hey.
And I forget what the other one was.
They'll be the only Catholic in Tennessee.
Yeah. So they were heading out, and he stopped, and the priest goes, hey, everybody, raise your right hand and let's all give a blessing to these folks that are leaving us, wish them good luck and God bless and send them on their way, right? And everybody in that church did, my wife goes, "Holy shit, we're all doing the Nazi salute."
Yeah.
Right? Had someone been facing that audience with a camera and snapped a picture, it would have been, look at these fucking Catholic Nazis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exact same thing happened at our church, Larry.
Yeah.
We do the
Okay.
raise your hand to bless someone. I go, if someone ever took a
Exactly.
picture of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The
So,
laying
I
of
mean,
hands is very common in evangelical churches as well. The Catholic Church, that's kind of interesting. I haven't seen that so much in my Catholic experience. I grew up.
Yeah, that's
Catholic.
like pretty charismatic for a Catholic to do that kind of, raise your hand and show some emotion.
Yeah, Larry, have you investigated
California.
them?
Yeah.
It's California. What can I say?
Report them to the Pope so they can.
They'll be speaking in tongues and shouting sola scriptura any day.
I was gonna make an anti-Catholic joke, but only because I have the Catholic card. But I decided against it because I love you. So guys, okay, so yeah, what do you do with that kid? Like, what advice do you give him when he shows up and he says this? And this is not self-serving, but I've had to deal with this a little bit, right? Because I have a picture from a decade ago that that was done all in complete good fun and all compliance of all the possibly offended parties, and then that was taken from a private post and sent out to everybody else, and now a bunch of people like to use it against me. It's a picture of me dressed up as my very black friend in his clothes, and my face is painted, which used to be like a bad thing, but if it was private and just a joke, no one really cared that much. But now it's a thing that people really want to use and weaponize against you.
Sure,
and so I know how I've had to manage that. And my dad, who I love very much and have a great relationship with, I never even thought to ask him for advice on that, because he grew up in a time where that was probably encouraged when he was a kid. No.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh no, we had when I was in high school, they had Slave Day for the football team to raise money, and they would auction off students. This is 1982.
Yeah.
The guy at the front would wear the big black hat. This guy was a liberal too. Big black hat and get the big mallet and hammer it. And the football team would come out, and they were wearing blackface, and some of them were wearing like paper chains.
Oh my God.
Like, you think back on that just being a little while ago, I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody found a picture of that, luckily the internet would not exist for another 65 years. No, I'm just kidding. But if you put those pictures up online, like I imagine some of those guys run their own businesses and stuff, they could be run out of town. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think this qualifies under kind of all of us. Is what do you do when you do a life screw up? Because it's not just going to be kids, right? Your kid dresses like a furry, or your kid. Remember when the royal family, the kid dressed up in some kind of a Nazi outfit for a Halloween party? The royal kid, the redhead one. And you got caught, and then it goes all over the internet, and there's shame. So that could be you caught naked, you in an old yearbook photo. You maybe one day your Google search history gets hacked and released. I mean, imagine the embarrassment that many of us could face one day with that kind of embarrassment, like just socially, they all caught you.
Yeah, I mean, what would it say? Like, how many fat celebrities can I fit in an 8-acre yard to bury because they're dead?
Yeah. Yeah. Or anything privately I've said on Twitter. I've said terrible things on Twitter to friends, between friends, with guys just going to the bottom. And what if that stuff got hacked and leaked?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
We'd all be facing that kind of career-ending embarrassment. And it's kind of, what do you do? To me, I always go, when I look for advice, I go back to general principles of what do you do when life isn't fair, or when you get your comeuppance and you get knocked down a peg, and some of these pegs can be real career enders. Is you just see, I just think you have to realize that life isn't fair, and you have to weather through it. If my son did a major screw up like that, I'd say, I've done screw ups like that. I will continue to. Many other people will too. And you have to, at some point, hope someone is capable of forgiving you, who will employ you one day. And in the meanwhile, I would not contribute to the negative marketing against you, even if it's true. I would not give it air in public. I'd apologize for it once, and that's really your only obligation.
So you would apologize?
Yeah, I believe in apologizing for anything wrong that you've done if you've gotten caught.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't if I was the kids, if it was innocence and I was doing, like, for instance, if we were in a prayer worship service and we were doing,
you're going to have to
and
apologize for that.
I'm not going to apologize for that under any circumstance. You can put a gun to my head, I will not apologize. But if I really did something stupid, like made a Nazi joke, which, I might, I would say, I'm sorry, that was not right. And I'm sorry that got it. I'm not sorry. I mean, I'm upset that it got out, but I'm sorry that I did it.
So Doug would apologize. I did not see that coming. And
if you screw up, that's a principle. If you screw up, you apologize, is the principle.
Sure. No, I get that. I think appropriate apologies are good. The question that I always have in these situations is, does it merit an apology? Because there are things that we do that are bad and we regret, right? Like in context, even they're a bad thing. Like you're Mel Gibson calling up your wife and calling her all sorts of horrific racial slurs. Yeah. Like you maybe say sorry about that.
Maybe.
But then there's like you said, the kids who've done this this joking salute. Someone in the chat said it's pretty clear that they were joking. Well, yeah, I don't think any of these kids are like, you know what we got to do right after this prom?
Yeah.
We got to get some trains. We got to get some patches, and we got to stoke the fires. Like no one's.
Yeah, we got to partner with the French. Step one, partner with the French.
Tell Poland we're on our way. No, so none of them are doing that. So yeah, that's one that probably doesn't merit apology, and really I think it merits some defense. But I mean, Larry,
Larry, do you apologize for things that offend other people, but you did not mean in any way to offend them?
Fuck no. My take on this is I would advise my kids to take a page from the book of two of our great current celebrities. One being the commander-in-chief, who said, when I'm wrong, I'll apologize. Mm-hmm. And he has powered through every fucking neutron bomb they've thrown at him, from grabbing by the pussy to this and that. I mean, this is the world we live in now, okay, where anything you fucking say will be held against you and used as a weapon to destroy you. And if you back off, if you kowtow, if you kiss ass, you will be destroyed. So for that type of a situation, I think that the correct response is, yeah, I said that. Fuck you. What are you, perfect? Who are you? Yeah. The other one that I like a lot, another celeb who I'm very fond of, is Cardi B. Here's this chick that's this huge hip hop star. She was a former stripper, a pole dancer. She totally owns it. Yeah, that's what I used to do. Now I'm rich as fuck, and you can all kiss my ass. I get a great sounder I've been using on my phone, on my show now, of her just saying, this is her exact quote. She says, "To all my fans that support me, thank you very much. And for those who don't, suck my dick." Suck my dick. And that's how I feel about this, because if this was 20 or 30 years ago, people would forgive and forget. That age is past. That ship sailed, the train has left the station. It's fucking over. They want you dead. They want your blood. So if my feeling is my kids, if something, and that's because let's look what we're talking about here. This is the scenario you've set up is just something that somebody else construes as inappropriate or offensive or bad behavior. You know what real bad behavior is? It's cutting somebody's fucking head off, okay? Or robbing their house or hit and run. That's shit that people need to be excoriated for and punished for. But something somebody says as a joke or an off, I don't buy into that in any way. If it was a direct insult, like, hey, you asshole, blah, 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 whatever, and I was wrong to do that, fine, I'll apologize for that. But it was fucking around with friends, having some laughs. I did it. My last show was all about this. I started off with a piece from Sam Kinison, okay? Maybe the funniest comic who ever lived.
Love him.
Okay? If that fucking guy was alive today, his career would be dead. He could not do the material that he does, okay? And that is a fucking shame. And the whole reason, it's like we have failed to hold the line. And that's why these scumbags, these PC thought police fucks are now controlling their narrative and the language, because all the way they just kept knocking us down like 9 pins, and nobody said, yeah, I said that, fuck you. That's the fix. That's my advice.
Yeah, and I think that's solid advice. Someone actually reminded me of exactly what I was thinking of, but I want to start, before we get too behind on the chats, I want to start going through those, and then we can kind of circle back to this, because what I was thinking of was a wildly different scenario, and I'm so glad. Thank you, Pancho Rodriguez O'Malley, for tagging me and reminding me of what I was thinking of, and we'll get back to that in just a second. But the first chat of the night is my good friend Keck7Go. He says, Doug, buddy, good to see you again. Question to you as a creator. How do you feel about someone taking your creation and making porn out of it? Are you at all bothered by all the earthworm gym porn floating around the sewers of the internet? And Nick Shill Patreon. Yes, of course, right here, patreon.com/lawsplaining. Join up, fight communism, fight the Nazis, fight the people fighting the Nazis, fight everybody.
Yes. There's infinite porn of my stuff out there.
Wow.
And
is there really earthworm gym porn?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
There's porn of everything. That's the rule.
Yeah, but it's
anything
a worm.
famous gets porn. But they've done it of cat scratch of my other shows and all kinds of stuff. First of all, I don't spend that much time looking at it. I'm not out looking at art of my own characters done by deviant art people or whatever. So I really don't care unless someone points it out to me. It's not on me. So it's almost like it's none of my business. It almost doesn't really show up on my, I don't stay up at night,
Smart.
being upset about it, because I just see it as just one other form of porn that's out there that I don't want. But the bigger problem is that we have a saturated pornified culture. So of course they'd start doing that to cartoon characters. So it kind of fits within the norm of this Titanic that's already going down. So I wouldn't get much comfort by going to someone and saying, don't you do that with my character. Once the characters are out in mass media, I almost don't see them as mine anymore. Anyways, the public is using them and enjoying them to the way that they want. And of course, I'm not making money on it. They're not taking money from me. So it's kind of the Wild West, it's on them.
As Doug's not lawyer, he disavows that statement. And any statements made on this podcast have nothing to do with the actual ownership rights or licenses or otherwise copyright of any character that he has ever created. He retains all rights to the maximum extent of the law. And if you try to take it, you can go die in a fire. Okay.
Of course. That said, of course.
But we know what we understand what you mean there.
Yeah.
No, that's a good answer. What I was going to say,
the actionable thing, this just from a legal standpoint, you guys know this from content creation. The actionable point isn't usually that like I drew Spider-Man.
Right.
It's if my Spider-Man is being purchased by someone who thinks they're buying a real Spider-Man, and that's when I'm taking money away from the company, and that's actionable because now I'm stealing from the people who own those rights.
Doug, I forgot that you actually know quite a bit about IP. Like, I make fun of comic creators who talk about IP stuff because there are a lot of them out there who are like, well, I'm a comic guy and I'm a publisher and I know all sorts of IP. And most of them are frankly just, how do we say it politely these days? I'll say it in French. Retarded.
Retarded.
That means they're late. They're late to the party. En retard, right? They're actually late. That's a French word. I'm not dropping a derogatory term from any
We've never used
person.
that word. No, the French have their own word. The D is silent. Retarded.
No. Yeah, and importantly, that word has never been used ever in history. So just so you know. But no, a bunch of these guys are dumb. But what you said is rather salient, and it just reminds me that we need to do that intellectual property chat. I think we discussed at some point.
Yeah, we got to do a full show of that. Would be great.
Yeah.
I like IP, and it's really is it's my specialty. I've gone to Washington to talk about it before. So
I keep running into these guys who are like, no, if you use an entire work, then it's pretty hard to argue fair use. It's like, well, no, not at all, actually. It's still the nature of the work that's coming out, whether or not it is fair use or not. Is a case by case basis. You can't just say an entire work is automatically not fair use or even presumptively not, because the court disagrees with you. So these people, like, they just stick their foot in their mouth over and over.
And to that end, what you said of Doug doesn't give away any rights, and these are all protected. It is true also that the more you protect something, the more you set precedent. So if you suddenly start protecting it after you've already let it out there and go around the world, you start to lose precedent on it because you've kind of established that everyone can do it. So Disney's always jumping all over Mickey Mouse, and that's just meant to protect and extend that IP beyond what it was originally planned for. You know,
get ready for that 75-year public domain figure to get extended because the mouse is coming up on 75.
And I love it. I love the
mouse
extension. I'm a guy who makes money on IP. Go ahead, Larry.
The mouse is 90.
Yeah, but I think the copyrights to a lot of the big or the newer Mickey look or whatever is like 75 because it's approaching that. That's how it got extended last time, and Mickey somehow is still not in the public domain. They
did that. What Disney did was brilliant. You saw them come out with that Walt Disney logo with the Steamboat Willie pulling the tube.
Yeah,
that being their new moniker.
They get to trademark
extended it because they trademarked that mark, which Mickey Mouse is part of it. So they get them thrown in for free. So that's how they did Mickey.
Gosh, they should.
They're
die.
Brilliant.
They should die. They have too many lawyers. Okay. Fred Rush MD says, growing up, I never really got to know my dad as I was one of 4 kids and he ran his own business. Now that we are both older, any tips on how to have a good father-son relationship? So this is like a, did you guys have good relationships with your dad? That's the kind of question I feel like, because this is more like
as good as this guy did, and my kids have as good of a relationship with me as he did with his. It's like I have 4 kids and I have a business, so
sure
you don't see as much as you'd like. You'd like to spend more than 15 minutes of FaceTime a day with each one, but that's all they're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm more curious about Larry. Because you have 2 daughters.
Yeah, well, I think Doug. I think that when you have when you're a father with daughters, you have far easier time of it, generally speaking, than a guy raising sons.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're at some point, a son when he turns 16, 17, 18, is going to feel competitive with the old man.
That's right.
You know, and that's when the friction really starts. And I think of myself in that way. When I was a younger kid, my father and I were extremely close. And then as I, swung into my late teens and early 20s, like the old story goes, I thought my father was an imbecile. By the time I was 30, I was amazed how much he'd learned.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's the way it is. And I see that in my family, my daughters have a tougher time with mom.
Yeah.
Probably for the same reason.
Yeah.
So for this gentleman, how to have a good father-son relationship, from my perspective, I'd say there's not a hell of a lot dad can do once that son gets into that late teen zone, because odds are he's going to start thinking dad's an asshole. Yeah. So what you can do is just try to build as much good equity with your kid up until then, and just fucking ride it out until he hits his mid or late 20s. Hopefully you're still around, and you'll be amazed how close you'll come together again.
And to reconnect to your dad is, I think, is just common sense for anyone who wants to make friends with anyone. Is you interview them. There's so much information in your dad's head that you don't know.
Yep.
Especially start with his past. That's safe, and it won't be weird to ask, Dad, what was it like when you were a kid? How'd you get your first car? What was your first job? What was the worst job you ever had? You can start asking really safe questions to start. The juice is flowing. And I would think, I'm thinking as a dad, I would give anything if 10 years from now, one of my sons came up to me and ask me those kinds of questions. My prayer is that they will, that they're thinking the way you're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
You're your dad's dream. He may not emotionally act like it or something, but I think that's what every dad wants, is for you to be a little more fascinated with his life than you are with your own. And it sounds like you want to make that connection. Just ask him about the past, things that he knows that you don't, would be amazing.
Yeah.
Now, my relationship with my dad was a little different than what Larry described, because I don't think I ever got to a stage. I mean, I would disagree with my dad on a few things, but I never thought of him as an imbecile or wrong on balance, right? Generally, I've always regarded my dad pretty highly, and always felt that he was a really sharp guy and was very insightful. What I would say to add to, I don't want to detract from y'all's answers because I think they're both very good.
Mm-hmm.
But on the converse side of that is, and I think this is integral to any serious relationship that you have. I'm talking wife, dad, long-term, really good friends, people that you will be around a significant amount of time, is learn to be comfortable in silence. Like if your dad is sitting just watching football, like my dad watches football. I don't watch football. I don't care about football at all. But I can sit down with my dad on a couch and watch football, and then we will have long periods of just watching football, seeing what's going on. And then maybe there's like a sideways exchange of conversation. And I value those times with him as much as I value a conversation about something substantive. The ability to be in silence with someone and just relax with it. Because that takes a little practice. Like at first it might feel a little nervous. And this is, again, this kind of just general deep relationship advice is learn to do that and practice that skill with the person. It'll become more natural for them too. And then I think that unshackles some of the vulnerability for transitioning from those early questions that you're talking about, Doug, to like, what was your first job like? What was your first car? Tell me a story about like your high school friends. And then getting into like, where did you screw up like in life? Where were you caught masturbating on camera?
YouTube.
Yeah. Like how'd that happen to you?
Dads they don't change, right? Because we're younger. So the youth will tend to change more than dads. Like Larry said, I'm amazed at how smart my dad got, after I came back from college or whatever. The point being that we grow up. It's not that dad changes. So the reason why as teens, we break away from our dads and think, oh, they're ignorant assholes or stupid. They really do seem like it because of the kinds of things that teens and youth are immediately preoccupied with.
Right.
Like I can't ask my dad, hey, who's on the cast of Arrested Development or whatever is hot today? Because dads have a way of really not being involved with what trivia youth culture is obsessing with today that probably won't last.
You boomer. My dad knows exactly who's on the cast of Arrested Development.
Oh, that's
dated yourself with that one, buddy.
I feel bad for your millennial dad. He's probably younger than me anyways, Nick.
No, I don't think so.
But you know what I mean? Like, so when I go hang out with my dad, it's like he wants to show me the same VHS tape that's all tractor pulls with tractors blowing up.
Yes.
It's an hour and a half of tractors blowing. I have to watch it every time I go to his house. And I just kind of go, this is my time with dad. And he's like, did you see that? Did you see that? The blown Hemi? Okay,
Yeah.
Dad.
I like that.
Okay, so related to the YouTube mistake thing we talked about earlier, I don't write jokes, but I had a joke come to mind today. You guys can rate me on it. Who's the best masturbator in Rome? Agrippa.
Oh, that's a Chad
I like
dad.
that.
Chad
That's okay.
Yeah, that's the dad joke you tell your kid on his 18th birthday. I
Chad
guess.
dad joke. Yeah. What's that? Happy Roman. He was gladiator.
Yeah. Oh no.
Yes.
Oh,
Chad
no.
Yeah.
Chad dad joke.
Okay, so let's get to the next question. Ryan English, what if your 37-year-old son who lives at home decides to go back to school for a second bachelor's degree in computer science and shows no signs of moving out for at least another year, asking for my dad?
He just set that one up.
Wow.
So that's
Larry, didn't your anus pucker a little bit when you said 37 years old, second degree, lives on the couch? Didn't that just
a smidge? Yeah. Shit, but that's pretty common. Doesn't it seem like that's kind of not all that out there?
Yeah.
These days.
Yeah, that the age of moving out has gone, like the average age has gone from like 18 or 19 or whatever to like 24 or 25. It's
or
crazy.
More. Yeah. Yeah. I would tell this guy that he's your dad, and is probably shitty you feel about asking him that and making that, I don't want to say a demand, but the request of him at kind of an advanced age to do that. I think that kids tend to forget that, we love them ferociously.
That's right.
And we'll do anything for them, and that's just kind of the way things work. I remember when my kids were born, not too long after. They were, pretty young kids, and we took a cruise, the family, and they were giving the whole Megillah where they blow the whistle when you get on, and there's the life bolts, and put on your life jackets, and the bullshit in case the thing does a Titanic. And I remember looking at my wife. I said, "Listen, if this thing goes down, you're on your own. I'm saving the kids first." Yeah. And she was fine with that. She says, "Yeah, so are you." That's just that everything shifts, and that, I don't think that ever goes away. And I think of myself, as no matter how big an asshole I was to my father, when I was in that phase, I always knew that he would be there for me, and he loved me. So you're 37, you want to go back to school? I bet she's cool with that.
Yeah, I would think so. I think so. By the way, Ryan's a good guy, and he sounds unproductive and like a sluggard, but he's actually not.
I would just say,
you sluggard.
I know this is hard because it's hard because I know how hard school is and how hard it is to make it out there. But I would just not want to be on my dad's couch at 37.
No.
Period.
No, it sounds like. Sorry.
If I had to go and get that second major, I'd look for a way to find a buddy. I'd rather be on a buddy's couch than my dad's couch.
True.
Sure.
It doesn't shame him. It doesn't make him as upset. And you need to be out from under his thumb, and you need to be out on your own. And you'll actually feel probably better about your masters when you accomplish it if you do it a little more alone than being on his. The automatic teat. He's there for emergencies. You get in a car wreck and you get laid up and you're a paraplegic, fine, go live on your dad's couch. You get a divorce and your wife leaves you and you have the kids and you need a safe place for them with care and stuff. Then you play the dad, I'm coming home card at 37, not getting my second master's. It just seems like you got to find another way. That's just me.
You're right. And how often in the news is that scenario a recipe for disaster? It seems like every time I flick on the news, it's some guy who's that age who's just bludgeoned his parents.
Yeah.
Failure to launch. He never left. He fucking. It seems like that happens so often. Some dude in his late 30s, still living at home, never left, and just snaps, and it's a horror show.
Well, to be fair, and I have a fantastic relationship with my parents. I love them to death, but if I had to live with them, I mean, I'd be considering it.
You'd kill them. Sure you would.
Yeah. If I had to live with my dad at 30, there's no way we could be in the same house.
If I have to live with anybody, like my wife barely passes by. But other than that, like any other adult than the one person that I have to sometimes remind myself, you chose this, you weirdo. Like you chose to live with this person for the rest of your life, and you better remember it today when you don't feel like it. Everybody else, I didn't make that choice. Not my parents, not my best friends, not my worst enemies, nobody else. So at that point, like, and I'll be 37 in 17 days. So I'm right in that slot. And I could not live with another adult who is not intimately connected with me as my wife. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So the next question comes from Hot Snaj, who, by the way, is an absolute rock star today. He personally was over at my house for several hours, helping me haul things in and out of vans.
Here's a Hot Snaj. Good man.
Yeah,
friends like that are not easy to find.
So
that's a lifer favor.
Yeah.
No, it's not actually. I owe him nothing other than his shout out. That's how this works. No, I'm just kidding. He says, what if your kid is a blackface? Which I think he's literally referring to does blackface like people have accused me of doing. Although I will staunchly say that was not blackface. There was no one, no offense intended to anybody.
Right.
Two, it was not a production that was meant to demean a particular race or exaggerate the features of a particular race. It was just a joke to one specific guy who is also happened to be my best friend. And if you have not watched the episode where he was on this stream, watch it because he's one of the funniest people I know. He's also very intelligent and insightful in a way that that is different than everybody else I have ever met. And it's why he's truly been one of my best friends for
and the people
20
offended
years.
by this they're not really offended. They're trying to take it down a notch. They're using this what could be offensive if it was done seriously.
And they're white.
Yeah, they're white. They're using this. This is political. This is something what Larry said is they're using this. And so to those people, you give them the middle finger. If it was if it was a black person who came up and said, hey, I was offended by that. And if you explained, this is my friend, and you explained the context and they were still upset about it, I'd go, I didn't mean to offend you by that.
You weren't involved. Sorry.
If it was a black person, I would not do it for your average white liberal who's trying to just get the whole world in trouble for saying fart this week, because last week it was fashionable and now we've outlawed it.
Have Comics Will Travel. That it was the 10,000 subscribers spectacular with Token Black Guy. You can find it because the thumbnail looks like my avatar, but the character inside it is black. So it's go watch that video though. It was a great interview, and maybe at 15,000 we'll have him on again. I would have him on almost every day. Literally, I would have him on as a full-on co-host, except for the fact that our schedules as two dads make it very difficult to do that.
What are you at now? How many subscribers? You were at 14,000 last?
Just over 14,000 now.
Nice.
I was at 13,000 last time, I think. So,
I gotta be putting out bad product because I'm just not going up that. I'm stuck at like 5,800, I think now.
It's the getting to 10,000 is a huge chore. It really is. And then getting past that, once you get to 10,000, everything kind of changes and your content gets promoted. But we can talk about some strategies that I've tried to use and see if we can make something.
Yeah. My show is kind of deliberately boring right now. So
you're doing a lot of drawing still, right?
I'm drawing. I'm doing like 5 hours of drawing, and I invite guests on to talk. So I can see why if I'm not engaging them like you talk to people on the camera, I can see why that might be asking a lot from people.
Well, I got make sure in those I got out of whatever wherever you're broadcasting the link, so make sure I'm in there because I may be able to pop in here and there, and I'd love to come on your show.
Cool. It's I'll be sure to continue to send you those invites for your people who want to just throw me a mercy subscribe. It's Doug TenNapel on YouTube is the mercy subscribe.
It's a worthy subscription because your interviews are fantastic. You interview interesting people all the time. Yeah. Speaking of that, I believe I'm going to combine this guy's two chats, even though they're 20 minutes apart, because I believe that you had him on your show. This is Landanime, my anime expert on the channel.
Landanime. Yeah, he's been on my show. Yeah.
Yeah. First, he says, "Sorry, I'm late. Do you guys think eating butt is mealy AF? Also, what is Larry's favorite anime?" And then let me combine
Larry's favorite anime is eating butt, ironically.
Yeah. Then we'll go back to that question in just a second. But his other one was, Doug, I know we talked on stream before. From the bottom of my heart, you're a great man. I know you don't like anime really, but this stream is great. So back to Larry. Larry, what's your favorite anime, buddy?
Don't have one.
No, you don't say. You don't. How dare you?
Larry, can you name an anime? Just think of one.
No.
No. Your life may be better for it. It may be worse for it. It's
I
hard
don't know.
to say.
But then again, like you, Nick, I don't watch football either, so color me weird.
Yeah.
So if they made an anime football, you still wouldn't have seen it.
Speaking of that, okay, dad moment. So, so I'm moving today, right? Like that's the whole thing. We closed on, I closed on the house this morning.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. And it's great. And I'm gonna do a tour of my new office once it's set up. And that'll be
So you'll be
fun.
doing this from home.
Oh yeah. And this is
So
my
you're saving money on office space. You gonna dump this place or still practice law?
this is my current home office actually.
I thought it was down the street. From
No,
you.
I did dump my law office because it was not useful to me. I'm at home way too much to be paying overhead on an office. So I actually dumped it the beginning of October, I think.
But if you do criminal law, you don't want to bring a serial killer into your house to
No.
defend
And
you.
I have tons of friends with conference rooms in town. That's not
Okay.
a concern for me. And
Put
I'll
the
just
serial killer in their conference room. Well, thanks,
Yeah.
Nick.
I'll go to their rape dungeons anyway. It's fine.
That's right.
Like,
Every lawyer has one. Hey,
Tiptoe
am I
through.
right? Who doesn't know?
But no, so closed on my house this morning, and I don't like the whole internet net neutrality thing. I don't really want internet classified as a public utility because of what the legal ramifications are. However, I will say that before I contacted any other utility, I called up Charter and I'm like, get my internet going now. Like, I want it now. I want it as fast as possible. I want the fastest speed that you've got at my new address. Please make it happen. Move my service immediately. And then they told me we can't until the other person closes. And I almost lost my mind then, but then I just contacted the seller. They canceled it right away. And so then I got the go ahead, but I got the new person the second time. And this lovely lady
Yeah, in quotes.
spent all day trying to sell me stuff I don't want. I'm like, because all I have in my house is internet. I get my phone through a different voice over IP provider. I don't want Charter
120
service.
channels and a satellite dish. Do you want?
No, I don't want any TV. We don't watch TV. I don't have time. Like I don't watch.
What about the football package?
I don't watch. I don't have 3 hours to sit and watch a
Anime
TV.
football package.
Yeah. I don't have any time for TV. We got rid of TV probably 4 or 5 years ago. Have not regretted it for a moment. My kids watch YouTube, Netflix, and Hulu, and that is enough. That is more TV than we even need. But I'm good with that. So I'm on the phone with this lady, and I'm like, yeah, I want your fastest internet. She's like, well, let me get you bundled with the phone. I'll save you $10 a month. No. Well,
No.
why not? I don't want it. What do you mean you don't want it? It's $10 a month cheaper. Well, for 12 months it is. Well, then when the price goes up, you can cancel it. I'm not gonna. So no, I don't want it. I don't want it. No. So then she's like, oh, okay, well, I guess you don't want me to save you $10. No, I don't. It's $10. I'll just not give that to a homeless person or
for
something.
the dum-dum package. Okay.
Yeah. So then a minute later, she's like, what are you using this? You want the gigabyte internet service? What are you using it for? That's my own business.
Yeah.
Well-
to sell meth.
Yeah. What else? I'm like, I got like 100 kids. They all have iPads and they're all on it all day. I just want the fastest speed possible. Oh, what are they doing? I don't know. They're my kids. I don't really care. They're just on iPads. So then she says, well, have you heard about our streaming package? No, what's that? Well, that's where you get live channels. I don't want live channels. Well, what do you mean? What do you do? I don't watch TV. What do you watch? I sometimes watch YouTube. Well, that's streaming. Yeah, but I have that. I don't need your streaming package for YouTube. You're trying to sell me a live channel, and I don't care about it because I can never watch TV live. I'd have to get a DVR. I'd have to do all this stuff. No, I don't want it. This lady sits and makes what should be a 10-minute phone call into 40 minutes in the like the busiest day I've had in the past month.
Well, you stole her commission.
Oh
you
my God.
cheapskate. You stole this poor woman. She's a new employee. This poor kid just trying to get by in your town. Few jobs, and you didn't let her get a commission off just because you wouldn't pay 10 a month for your phones.
She can go eat a homeless person for all I care. Get whatever
she
disease.
Does. She does that in her spare time.
It's safer to eat homeless people than romaine lettuce right now. So that's what she gets. Okay. So anyway, that I just had to rant about that. I was really ticked off, and I don't know about you guys, but my fuse on the phone, I learned my phone etiquette from my dad, who will be polite for about 35 seconds until you get until you get on his bad side, and he will just lay someone out on the phone. if they don't have any legitimate purpose for calling him, he'll either, now that he's older, he kind of and has more time in his life, he'll just screw with them for a while. But
Yeah.
when he
Now
was,
he's lonely. Now he's looking for conversation. If they're from India, he'll be on with them all day.
well, when he was my age, I remember him just reaming people, and I inherited that because I'll be very courteous and polite until you tell me, like, until I say, you know what, no, thank you, and then you come back. No, I already said no, thank you.
But if you're too rude, she will lose your cable connection. She'll go like, "Oops, this fell off my desk in the trash."
That was the hardest part of today.
Right?
I'm not
You
even
have to be
kidding.
like, "Thank
Yeah.
you."
I'm like, I need to get the appointment scheduled first, and then I can
Right.
just hang up, and then I can go and punch everything in my house that isn't alive.
Yeah. But you
Okay.
sold the house, so you can just put holes in it, knuckle
Yeah.
holes in it all over the place.
These are speed holes. They make the house go faster. Tillip, who does my thumbnails, he says, my father passed away when I was 19. I'll never get an opportunity to ask my dad for advice for adult life. What's the one thing the three of you would want your kids to learn above all else? That's a good question, man.
And this relates to Larry, because when his dad passed, right, he had some regrets there. So tell him.
Sure.
What's the question
one
again?
thing that want my kids to know? Is that what it was?
What's the? Sorry, you caught me mid swallow.
Went down the lungs.
What's the one
did you
thing
say?
you would want your kids to learn above all else? Like in the event that you die today,
Right.
what's the one thing you hope your kids learned?
I would say to be aggressive. That ambition and aggression will trump talent and sometimes hard work every fucking time. Really. And you look at the people who rise to the top, and it's always the common, the common theme is the ones that were assertive and aggressive and went after what they wanted. Probably the most important thing in life.
That's great. Doug, did you want to go, or do you want another minute? Because I think I got my answer ready.
Go.
Okay. It's along the same vein as Larry, but it's always, always, always go forward. If you're from the Dick Show, if you're affiliated at all with the Dick Show, you know that that Andy, Call of the Deep, great artist, took his own life the other day. And
no!
That is that's looking back. And
Is he a Dick Show guy?
Yeah, he did many of Dick's thumbnails. Any of the thumbnails?
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I've seen that guy's work.
Yeah,
They took his own life. That's terrible.
Yeah, it's really hard, and it's weird because I never met Andy, never talked to him, not once. Only tangentially experienced his art through the Dick Show, but like this, it's profoundly affected me, and suicide really does, which is weird because I don't have many people in my life who have committed suicide. Only one or two.
Yeah.
And those are stories for another time.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, to my kids, the one thing I hope they learn is that no matter where you are, like no matter how many blackface photos of you they found, no matter how many Nazi jokes you made that they've uncovered, no matter when you've been fired, no matter when you can't find a job, no matter any of that, one day, and I don't know when it is in your life, I don't know when it is in anyone's life, one day you will look back and you will see how all of those things, if you take some reflection, all of that leads you to where you are, and always go forward from where you are. Because if you look back on your mistakes, if you look back on the times when you didn't make a mistake and life was unfair, you look back on the times when you felt like dirt because you got fired from a job, you don't know why, you worked your hardest at it, you thought you were doing a good job, you get fired, whatever. It doesn't matter. Other people have experienced some of these things, and there are many more. Always look forward, because you're always moving towards something else. It's not always better. Sometimes it's worse for a time, but you're always moving towards something else, and it's always new, and it's always an opportunity. And if I want my kids to learn one thing, it's not to sit and dwell on your history. It's not to sit and dwell on your mistakes, because I'm a new person probably every year in some respects. I've grown, I've changed my mind, I've changed everything. And I hope never to be dishonest about my past, but I hope to leave that person behind to become something better. That's my goal. I don't always achieve it, but always move forward. So that's the one thing I want my kids to learn.
I would say just this is a universal thing, is be incredibly suspect of your own pride. If I was going to give a kid like a universal piece of advice, right? This is the end all be all piece of advice, that if I die, I think if my kids can be endlessly vigilant about their own pride, I think it could avoid just all kinds of things. Like I think of at the beginning of Lord of the Rings, when Tolkien says like this was why Tolkien wrote that great work, is that man, that he was particularly susceptible to pride. I think pride is when I see someone who can't learn, or I see someone who makes huge mistakes and can't learn from them, that I think the problem is pride. And in me, my biggest problem is me. And my biggest problem is my pride. So if I could, I'd feel at peace if I thought my kids were extra vigilant about that. And I'm not talking about, I'm proud of my kids. That's not the pride I'm talking about.
Right.
I'm talking about just endlessly protecting your own ego, to seek out the faults in others and never look at your own, and all that stuff. I just think is a miserable life full of mistakes.
Yeah. Don't be prideful. Be assured.
Humble. It's
Humble,
vigilant. This goes back
but
to
assured.
apologizing for what you do wrong. It's like it really doesn't cost you anything to look inward and say, I screwed up, and I should do better, and all that kind of humility can keep you off drugs. You will find Christ. You will do well at your job. You will excel at marriage if you can put your pride. If you can find a place for it and know what to do with it. I think that's man's great. That's all of our problem, and it'll be my problem till the day I die.
Yeah, you can never apologize to the mob. Always apologize to the person wronged.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes. Yeah. And the caveat of that is the person actually wronged is shockingly less frequent than what we make it out to be today.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Real quick, breaking news: George Bush Senior has died.
No, that's terrible.
So press F for respects. Simultaneously, press S to spit.
No! You can't spit on the dead.
I can and will and do.
He is now one of those 1,000 points of light.
Yeah, he just became. He went back to the ethereal.
Oh, that's what happened. Trump said, "You know what, George Bush, you got to go back. You got to go back."
There's 1,001 points of light now.
So, so he's dead. And there are things to respect about George Bush Sr.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to not like about him. So F and S, I will say both, F and S.
Well, he screwed us on the courts. I mean,
he screwed us on the courts. He screwed us on taxation. He screwed us by giving us Bill Clinton. He screwed us by putting us into Iraq in the first place in many ways.
Yes.
I'm for the Iraq thing. I'm for complete world domination by our military. So I'm
colonialist.
I'm revealing too much about you better believe it. Empire all the way is what I'm about.
So,
but I will say that we respect the office. So even if it's that dirtbag Bill or Obama or Hillary going down today, there's nothing to rejoice about death. We're all going to get there.
Hillary can't die.
Well, that's true. She's the crypt keeper.
Yeah.
She'll be back to cackle some more long after she's dead. She'll visit us all in our sleep.
And hey, everybody out there, that's why circumcision will never be illegal. Because without circumcision, how would Hillary bathe in the baby foreskins to keep her alive?
There you go.
That's right. She needs that energy.
Yes.
Those, those
That's-
pre-nascent energy
that's-
cells.
that's-
Key ingredient when you're spirit cooking too.
Yeah.
We need to stop
But
calling
George,
it.
let's go back to George Senior, the man.
Well, real quick
you gotta
though,
figure-
I've got a Hillary joke real quick, and then we can.
Go. Yeah. There's always
we
room
gotta-
for a Chad Bad Hillary joke.
We got to stop. We got to stop calling it foreskin and start calling it Epstein calamari.
That's just gross. Because calamari does look kind of like giant foreskins fried. That's just disgusting.
Yeah, when you don't get the tentacly ones, right? Like you get the good
Yeah.
one. I don't like the tentacly ones. They're always weird. They taste good.
Yeah.
They're weird.
The one that looks like PVC pipe chopped up is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's just that's
Yep.
rank.
Epstein
But-
calamari. There you
Let's
go.
talk about George Bush, because
Yeah.
Barbara Bush, right? Is she still with us or did she die?
I think is Barbara Bush alive? I'll check.
I
I'll
don't know.
check.
Did she just?
Because
I'm
if
trying to
she's
think of
alive, you got to figure this is a heartbroken woman. If she's dead, then then the
Yeah,
the
she's
picture's
also
come-
kind of. No, she died in April. Thank God.
Yeah, she died in April.
Thank
can
God,
Free to
yeah.
see
We
some-
can make fun of that chick. She's her redemption period coming back to life is expired, so now it's safe to make fun of her.
She's up in heaven looking like a hot 20-year-old. She doesn't look like her annore. She doesn't
Well,
look
for the
like
longest
George Bush in
time-
a wig.
When they came to prominence in the political scene, I used to see them, and I thought, why is this guy campaigning with his mother?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, she looked like she was decades older than he was.
Yeah. Yeah. But look, George Bush Jr., he's heartbroken. I mean, your dad goes, but this is what I liked about him. He did that skydiving stuff when he was 85 years old.
That was cool.
That's how you kick ass at 85.
Yeah.
Forget, he can't do
Yeah.
anything about the Supreme Court, which he ruined for a lifetime.
Well, we should
But-
put every 85-year-old plus member of the Supreme Court in a plane and send them skydiving.
It's true.
Without
Like
a
Ruth
doubt.
Bader
That means-
Ginsburg.
That means for
It's
Ginsburg, she
time.
has to go twice.
Yeah. She would land. It would just the meat would shake right off the bones. It would just be a skeleton landing.
You're right. It would.
She has to eat
Skeletor
the.
landing.
Hillary's only on foreskins, but Ginsburg has to eat the whole baby.
Ginsburg has to eat the whole baby. Yeah, I really feel for GWB, because that's really when I first started getting into politics in the early 90s. Probably was when I first kind of becoming. I mean, I voted for Reagan, but I first really became aware in that era, and how quickly we turned on GHW. And I still, there's enough youth in me that I'm still kind of respectful of the presidential office, that I don't like. I guess I'm okay with people dissing him for his decisions, because obviously the guy was not a super principled conservative, right?
No, not at all. He's kind of terrifying in a lot of ways.
But it
Very
always could have been
wishy-washy.
worse. It always could have been, which was worse?
Yeah.
Would you rather he be reelected, or are you happy that you had Clinton?
Oh, I would have much rather had Bush than Clinton. Because
He came out and said,
Clinton
"Read
didn't
my
do
lips. No
any.
new taxes," and he caved in and gave taxes. And there's a lesson that we all learned.
Yeah, don't ever raise taxes. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, then his key quote was the New World Order.
Yeah.
Don't
Yep.
forget that
Yeah,
one.
that's a spit take. I almost spit my whiskey out on that, Larry.
Ah,
Tell them about the New World Order, about 1,000 points of light and all the dreaming in the New World Order. How terrifying is that?
scary.
Beginning of the
Very
globalism.
I think the New World Order is here. I think it's
you're right.
emerging.
It is.
And it's emerging in a way, as often these things do, in the way we don't expect. Like if we take this down the Christian road, Christ was not supposed to be who he was, according to the Jewish idea of what the Messiah was going to be. He was going to literally be a warrior to present day conquer Rome. He was going to rise up with a violent revolution and overthrow the government. That was the idea of the Messiah. Christ comes in, changes all of that. The New World Order, I think, really is this idea. I'm not gonna credit like the random social justice warriors on Twitter with this, because I can't imagine how long they'll be masturbating to think that I would give them the credit to be the New World Order. But I think it's this notion that we transcend government, right?
Yeah.
We transcend the idea, because all of our rights are protected against government, but instead now we have a technocracy and a brigade of thought police who are unelected, unaccountable, anonymous
It's not even
people.
countrywide now; it's worldwide.
Right.
Sure it is.
Knit
Right.
the countries to a world order.
It's and the world order is not something that has the power of law. It just employs en masse the power of the mob to destroy and only destroy. If you notice, for all of social justice, no matter what field they're in, they cannot motivate people to create a single damn thing. Not
right.
one. Not
That's
one
right.
thing can they motivate them to create that will be successful or expand or grow. Like, you want all of this exposure, you want all of this understanding, you want inclusivity. You can't somehow, all of their power, they can't get anybody to add to what exists. They can only destroy.
Yeah,
And,
they can't create a university. Those were all created by Puritans and powdered wigs and insanely conservative people starting like a seminary. They can only take a university that already exists and turn it into, a re-education camp. They can't create a hospital.
Right.
Liberals don't create hospitals. Those are created by the church. And and all the art they make is shitty. So
I
as
can't
a
get
general
over
rule.
this. Like, on the art thing, because again, I'm coming back to comics
Yeah.
after like a 20-year hiatus just because of the legal issues. And I'm looking at this stuff, and I saw someone comparing. Maybe Doug, you can help me out.
Yeah.
Have you seen the like promo pinup art for Iron Sights, for example?
Yes.
Meyer's book.
Yes,
Okay.
I have it here somewhere. Yes.
Someone unironically, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm the idiot. Maybe I'm the Frenchman. They put a picture of Iron Sights up, and then a picture of Squirrel Girl up.
Yeah.
And they said that Squirrel Girl was better art than the Iron Sights pinup insert.
Yeah, not true. Iron Sights. Well, there's only one, maybe two reasons why the Iron Sights pinup is so good.
But I can't okay, even ignoring the chesticles of the woman on Iron Sights.
The two benefits of Iron Sights. Yes.
Ignoring that though, like, I look at it, I look at the coloring, I look at the shading, I look at the overall aesthetic of it, and I'm not an art guy, and I'm like, this is pleasing to the eye. Squirrel Girl isn't offensive to the eye necessarily.
No.
But it just looks like a quick
appealing.
sketch.
It's appealing. It's it's all good as far as art goes. You're only going to get so good in pop media. This is pop media, so this is not carving the David out of marble. Okay.
No.
So if you're going to compare Squirrel Girl and Iron Sights, I mean, someone's trying to make a point, and we're not going to give them that point.
No. But I'm like, okay, maybe, like, I look at these two pictures and I see that clearly one appeals to me, and I'm not even talking about the sexuality of the first one. Like, I'm really not.
am. However,
You
are
can.
not.
But I'm referring to just the look of the art as far as shading, lighting, consistency, body proportions, style. It's got like a sheen. It's got cell shading on it. I like it. It looks like what I expect a comic book to look like. Squirrel Girl doesn't. And I'm not denigrating that art. I just don't like it. It doesn't appeal to me in any way.
That's a matter of taste. There's no accounting for taste. You've heard that said. There's no accounting for taste. You can't. I do believe there's such a thing as objective beauty. I don't know. Unless I see the Squirrel Girl versus Iron Sights cover, it's hard to make an objective beauty call on it.
You want me to pull it up? I'll pull it up on the stream, Doug.
I'll pull it up.
I just looked at it. I mean, who wants to hang around with a chick that runs around with 3 fucking rodents on her arm? I don't understand that at all.
No, that's called a homeless person, right? I saw her in Home Alone.
Yeah, right.
That's that girl. Yeah, the bag lady with the pigeons all over.
Yeah.
I'm as an artist, I see all art is very difficult to make. So even the worst Squirrel Girl, and I'm really not that familiar with Squirrel Girl. Come on, I'm a 52-year-old man.
It looks like a cheap
Do you think
newspaper comic. Like,
Yeah,
that's what
I
it
would
looks like.
find a lot
Jackson-
more fun in Iron Sights from Squirrel Girl.
Sorry, go ahead, Larry.
Do you think Jackson Pollock is difficult to make, Doug?
No, I don't. I
No.
think he was.
So all right.
He was a madman, and all modern art is garbage. But I get the philosophy. I studied the philosophy behind it, right? I was an art major, so we worshipped at the altar of Jackson Pollock, and then you wake up a few years later going, "What the hell? This is scribbled. He's a drunk and he scribbled."
Yeah.
But it was they were at that time in our history, we were breaking away from aesthetic of making beauty and skill-based stuff, and they were going to the philosophy of what are we seeing,
Right.
and wouldn't it be neat to have a whole art show, say, where all of the canvases were drained of content. And I actually admire those madmen and stupids in the early 1900s because they were the first to do it. I just think it's dumb to follow in their footsteps and continue repeating those the ground that they broke, and now we're doing it as if we're doing something deep. It's time to go back to skill.
Okay,
Exactly.
real quick. I'm getting requests to pull up iron sights. So here it is. I'm going to screen share it for a second, make sure it's in frame. Whoops. That's not where that's supposed to be.
Oh,
there we go.
It's your home address on your credit card.
Nope, that's all wrong. Everything
Yeah, look
is
at
wrong.
that. As my dad would say.
There we
"Now,
go.
That's art. That's art. I see good art there. That's art."
So that's the iron sights cover. Let me unscreen share. What a disaster that was.
Yeah.
Good job. Boomer check at its finest.
Home address and credit card number on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so that's iron sights. I'm not going to pull up Squirrel Girl because
You're not.
I'm liking iron sights.
We can't do Squirrel Girl.
No. I really don't. I really don't care.
Well, see,
I agree. The person was making a point.
Well,
But
well, somebody in the chat said that the squirrel thing is like some type of an icon of SJW feminism. You look at this iron sights thing, and I've never seen this. The first time I've ever looked at this, and the position of that chick says to me, it's like a Frazetta thing with Conan.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's very retro and very. This is not He-Man woman time.
Made for real people.
Yeah. There you go. So I can see why it's easy to look at those two renderings and figure out who's going to have a hard on for which.
Yeah.
It is.
okay, fine. I'll pull up stupid Squirrel Girl.
Yeah.
Pull her up.
God, what a
Give me my
disaster!
BB
This
gun.
is
I want
the.
to shoot some squirrels.
I'll pull up the exact picture that they said was better
Compared
than
to iron sights.
than that. Okay, so this is
Do a very
unironically.
careful screen share. Careful screen share.
Yeah, I've got it all fixed now. Hold on, I've got it. Now there's another chick in this photo who has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. That's it.
Now
I don't
I'll
know
tell
who
you.
I don't know who the chica is. Here, I'll pull it up and make sure.
This is a great drawing, but a really repulsive face and body anatomy. The chest is just gross.
Oh, now, when you guys are talking this, I pulled up a Squirrel Girl Marvel.
Yeah. She looks.
What is,
That,
the
this is the
Gizmodo
ugliest.
can get bent.
What am I looking at
What
here?
the
What do you
hell, Nick Boomer? What are you doing?
Gizmodo's trying to get into this stream.
Yeah,
I'm going to charge him money for the advertising.
Trying to monetize you.
Oh, I'm on Gizmodo? Oh, kill me off. Guys, I'm sorry. I'm going immediately to Greenland. I apologize that Gizmodo is even mentioned on the stream. Oh,
Gizmodo.com, everybody.
no,
We
never
don't
go
give
there.
them love. Look at the picture of Scalia back there in the window to
Yeah.
scrub your mind with the Scalia silhouette. He looks over us and he's shaking. I thought I saw that photo shake his head when he saw Gizmodo come up. He was shaking his head in mourning.
Yeah.
Okay, we
It's
gotta
a Catholic
start.
icon. It's bleeding. His eyes are bleeding blood.
We gotta start moving through some of these chats. By the way, Scalia
Alright.
was killed. Prove me wrong. Oh, you can't because they moved his body. They moved the body of a Supreme Court justice who died alone in his room with his head under a pillow. They just happened to move his body and cremate it before they could do an autopsy, even though they wanted to.
They smothered him with Andrew Breitbart's body.
Yep. Good.
That's the weird thing about this conspiracy.
Yeah. Prove me wrong. And by the way, good luck because no one can because they just happened to cremate him prior to the ability to do that. RZEQDW says, in high school, to prank each other, my friends and I drew swastikas on each other's books and stuff. Holy hell. If social media existed back then, I probably wouldn't be employed now. Yeah. And yeah, that's the reality. Oh, sorry, I got this stuck on my face. That's the reality. is that
Yeah.
a joke when you're in high school can have ramifications well into your adulthood. And I am still going to get back to that initial point that I was making because I think it's even funnier. Brennan Pitt says the funniest thing that I see is these effeminate soy boy new age comedians who claim to idolize Bill Hicks. Bill Hicks would destroy them.
Yes.
And
True.
yeah, that's the same thing with like a Sam Kinison or a George Carlin, or when you mentioned Kinison earlier and said he wouldn't be able to do his set now. There's a video of Norm Macdonald. Some guy ran into Norm Macdonald, was at an airport, was asking him about comedy, and they're like, "Can you do the same jokes today?" And he's like, "No."
No.
Like, "Are you as funny today now as you were?" And he's like, "No, you just can't be. You got guys like Jerry Seinfeld even who can't do a show." He's like, "There's no way I can do comedy."
I was listening to
My
the Larry Miller podcast the other day, and you wouldn't say the word tits.
No.
You were sharing a joke, and you said, I just want to avoid all this crap. And you wouldn't say the word.
My last episode, okay, was triggered or birthed by
Triggered.
a video I saw, a video I saw on YouTube recently, okay, and it was called "Does It Hold Up?" And it was about a 15-minute video, and they had a panel of 8 people, 8 very sensitive people from age, I think they were like 18 to 30. And they played these people clips of classic Seinfeld episodes.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, think about it. Jerry Seinfeld, he deserved all the success he got.
Yeah.
And
Very funny guy.
There's no question about it. But let's not forget what he was doing. He was a guy crafting comedy for a major network TV show, the biggest of its time. And he was nothing if not mainstream. It was an all-family show. Anybody could watch that. Yeah, there was some double entendre, but the kids weren't going to get it. It was squeaky fucking clean. Okay, it wasn't outrageous. It wasn't groundbreaking, and it certainly wasn't so-called edgy. Okay, it was kind of. It was good, solid comedy, but it was nothing that would blow back your hair. It wasn't Kinison. It wasn't Eddie Murphy.
No.
It wasn't Richard Pryor.
No.
Okay,
It wasn't Carlin.
These fucking people watched those clips. Every one of them was, that's offensive. That's inappropriate. That's wrong. How could they do? These people should have been fired. Okay, and that was the crux of the show. This is how fucked up it's become. Okay, the brainwashing of these people is so complete that they can look at that stuff, which at the time was considered pablum. It was lukewarm. It wasn't razor sharp comedy. It was just nice stuff that everyone could watch, and they found it awful, unwatchable, never fun, not funny now, wasn't funny then. This is what they said.
Wow.
Yeah, and the whole reason that the Seinfeld show was so funny is that you watch one episode of Seinfeld, maybe you didn't experience what Seinfeld had gone through. You watch 2 episodes, and you've definitely been through a situation that happens on one of those shows.
Yeah.
Because it's the everyman's comedy, because it's every man's frustration with how stupid the regular mundane world is. And that was
the more true the comedy, the funnier it is. The more we recognize ourselves and go, oh yeah, the more like
I found a guy who maybe he doesn't not feed me soup at some random shop, but I go to Subway, and every time I get this one idiot, he puts 4 gallons of mayonnaise on my sandwich. Ugh. And if I complain about it, he looks at me like I'm the idiot, right? Like that's the joke. Is that
no sandwich for you? Yeah.
It's that you've experienced what happens in Seinfeld, and it's so mainstream that it's ubiquitous comedy. That's why it was so successful, is that everyone can relate to what happened on Seinfeld. Maybe not, like I said, maybe not in one episode, but definitely in the second. Yeah. Definitely in 2.
But you have to admit that this is probably to both you guys. I mean, we live in a culture that it's trying so hard to be moral. Like it's as immoral as ever, but it's trying so hard to show people that it's moral. Now, I know both you guys, if you heard a friend tell a 70s style N joke, a racist joke, your skin would crawl.
Depends on the friend and the scenario, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
But yeah, like at a comedy club,
cultural. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm only saying we all have to admit that the cultural zeitgeist of, because our culture, the only thing that it recognizes as immoral is racism. It doesn't know any other moral. It's like everything else is like up for grabs. Racism, it's like your skin is meant to crawl. If you smell a whiff of it in your friends or in the locker room, it's like your skin crawls. Maybe we always had a bit of a moral tick in our heart against it, going, this doesn't smell right. But nowadays, you experience the horror because culture tells you, like, you could lose everything. Your job, and that real people are actually damaged by this thing. Because I go to the Y and I work out, and there's old men there, right? And they're just from another world. And the way they talk about races and stuff, it is awful. And I go, I wonder how much of this is me. Like I said, I fear my own pride. Because I wonder if it's my pride going like, yeah, Doug, you've come so far. This stuff isn't funny to you anymore. Or is it just I'm just lazily floating down a culture that has programmed me to be extra horrified at this one evil, and every other evil, totally passable. Destroying someone on the internet, totally okay today.
Right.
Revenge, release your full revenge, totally okay. These are also things that are, I think, equivalent to the evil of racism.
Getting a mom or dad fired. Like I can't get over the fact that our thing is like, we don't want these people to work. And it's like, well, what do you think that's going to do? Like, you think that's going to make them less likely or more likely to go down the joke? Because I'll tell you, every time someone brings up something from my past disingenuously to try and hurt me, all I want to do in my entire life is double down so hard that I know they go into their bedroom and cry like a baby.
Yes.
Okay, we got a bunch of chats to move through.
Hold on, Larry. You were saying something?
Oh yeah, sorry, Larry.
You when you say it, I mean the new weapon of choice, really, by this faction, is economic persecution. Okay, isn't that what it is? I mean, really, what it is? I don't like you. I'm going to get you fucking fired.
We can't get you with law,
right?
Because of free speech, but we can get you with business.
Get you with business, okay? And I saw, maybe you're going to pull it up in a minute there, Nick, and I'm sure you will. So somebody in the chat earlier had a question about what can we do to preserve our 2A rights, right? Second Amendment rights.
Yeah.
And it's tangential, but it's still coming from the same root that we're talking about here. Is you see that I don't know what it's like in Tennessee, you're in Minnesota, and California has been, it's beyond belief the bullshit that the anti-gun crew has teed up. It's crazy. Get your fingerprinted before you buy a box of ammo. It's outrageous. And I see this constantly. I see this all the time on Twitter. I see it on Facebook, and it's a throwback to the Chuck Heston thing. Yeah, come and get my shooting irons. You'll have to buy them from my cold dead hands. Exactly, and I see this shit ad nauseum, and I just want to say, you stupid fucks, that's not how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
They're going to tax them out of existence. You're going to get every gun you've had that's legal is registered. They know you've got it. And they're going to say, oh, as of next year, if you'd like to keep that gun legal, it's going to cost you $5,000.
Which is that's how they did cigarettes.
Of course, exactly like cigarettes.
And gasoline in California.
For a new gun purchase, there's going to be a fucking house-to-house search. Nobody's going to be kicking in your door with gun-smelling dogs, and it's not going to go down that way.
No, because they'll get killed.
It so fucking financially onerous, you can't own them anymore. That's how it's going to happen, and that's their weapon.
Yep.
Well, the best way to keep your rights, first of all, is to have a father. Because your dad has a bunch of guns under his bed, and when he dies, he can just give them to you without registering them.
Yeah,
so that's my plan A. Is my dad has more AK-47s that we're just going to disappear off the planet, and they're going to go to me.
I just like to say all of my guns were tragically lost in a boating accident. They're in some lake.
Yes.
I
now have none. Yeah, I now have none in the house.
I was too drunk to remember what boat I was on. I wasn't driving the boat because that would be a crime. But
registration's a bitch.
Yep.
Mine vanished in the last move. I don't know
what happened to him. I don't know.
Okay. We do have to start moving through some chats here because we're like an hour behind on them.
All right,
Peter Pete,
bullet round.
Peter Pete says,
Yeah.
"Can you talk about a car shop wrecking a customer's car and then saying file an insurance claim?" Yeah, I can talk about it. You file your insurance claim and you tell your insurance company that the car shop wrecked the car and they need to subrogate or whatever your insurance claim to the car shop's insurance. Period. There you go. But
Wow.
definitely tell your car
Those
shop.
terms.
Tell your insurance that the car shop wrecked your car and that you need coverage on it and that they need to subrogate to them. Get your insurance's lawyers, who are well-paid guys who do this all the time. Get them on your side. That's what you pay your guy for. So just there you go. Next, Maddie P on the road. We've been talking about kids messing up. What if the parents are the screw-ups and legit do a terrible job? Patreon.com/Asterios. I don't know if he's saying Asterios' parents did a terrible job, but I mean, it's your duty. It's your duty as a child, as a man, specifically as a male child. I can't speak for women because I'm not one. It's your duty as a child, and particularly as a male child, to take ownership and leadership of your life. Like at some point, you have to say, my parents did a job. My parents did the best job that they knew how or were capable of doing. And that's a reality. It's a tautology, but it's a reality. Like they couldn't have done better because if they could have, they would have. And they could have done worse. They would have done worse. They did what they did.
You lived, so technically they did an okay job.
They
lived.
They did enough for now you to take ownership of that. And if you think your parents did a terrible job, you take what you learned that they did wrong and you try your darnest to correct it. And you take what they did right because they did something right because you're still breathing.
Yeah.
And you try and emulate those things. And then you combine that with the life experience of another person who had a different childhood than you did. Even if they seem the same, they're different. Good. And you mix your experiences and you work it out. And when I say dads lead families, but part of leadership is taking advice from your generals, and your wife is your general.
That's
and
right.
You lean on her experience because it's different than yours. Her parents are different than yours, and you are going to be different than your parents. You're going to be the same in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And we'll all make a brand new set of mistakes that'll put our kids in therapy.
Exactly.
That's right.
We'll make brand new stuff that our parents, I'm not going to make mistakes my dad made. I'm going to make a whole new set of mistakes.
Right.
For which my kids can complain about for the rest of their lives.
Oh, okay.
That's
So
right.
Dom H. Null, this is the one, 1989. This is the one you mentioned, Doug. Do you see any legal way forward to restore our Second Amendment rights? Or maybe it was Larry. I don't remember. It feels like the walls are closing in on us, especially at the state levels. Yes, Ginsburg has to die.
Yeah.
That's
true.
And I mean it.
Pack the courts is the only way. That's the only real breakthrough we've
only way.
had on gun rights is through the courts saying this is not about a standing, this is about is it a standing militia or what is it? Did it apply to personal gun rights? It's like we won that in the courts.
And what I will say, this guy, this dummy, this dirtbag, who I like very much. I very much like Antonin Scalia. He wrote DC versus Heller, which he secured an individual right. He didn't go far enough, and he pisses me off because of it. I'm sitting there like I teach high school law at our homeschool co-op. So I'm like screaming at a bunch of kids on Thursday about how Scalia's a dirtbag and needs to be ridiculed for not putting the Second Amendment under strict scrutiny the way that the First Amendment is and every other fundamental right. He didn't go far enough. Ginsburg has to die. She has to actually die while Trump's in office. And hopefully a truck runs over Breyer and he lives through it, but can't continue serving as a Supreme Court justice.
Yeah.
And Trump has to appoint someone else. We got to get it. We got to get it.
As
over
Nick's
with.
legal representation, I have to say hypothetically to all.
Yes.
Hypothetic, allegedly.
I mean, I
This
guess.
is comedy.
No, Ginsburg has to die or resign. Breyer has to die or resign. We've got to get the court, because Clarence Thomas said it the last time. And mind you, one of the deciding votes was one of the conservative justices to say, we're not going to hear this Second Amendment case. And Clarence Thomas famously said, I don't care if it's famous or not, he said the Second Amendment is now a second-class amendment on the Roberts Court. It was a damning indictment of Roberts and the
Maybe
Roberts
a bus
Court.
needs to hit Roberts.
Roberts is a fucking tool. He's the worst of them all.
Larry.
Really, fuck him.
Yeah, he's in many ways.
Bush did his best. Bush Jr. did his best. But Roberts really was a disappointment, wasn't he?
I'll give Roberts credit where he's due.
Yeah.
He's been pretty good on speech. We're talking lots of 9-0 unanimous decisions on protecting the First Amendment. That's the Roberts Court legacy. That's the only one that's good.
Yeah.
The other one is bad. The rest of it is really weak.
But
Thomas
who got
called
to
him out.
him? Nick, who got to him on Obamacare? He flipped that.
I don't know what happened there, man.
What happened there?
That was the biggest heartbreak.
Maybe they found his fucking Google search history.
That's right.
No, I'll tell you what happened
They
to
found
Roberts.
bodies in his basement.
I'll tell you what happened to Roberts.
Severed heads of Asian children in his basement.
Yeah, have you guys ever seen the movie Dirty Work with Norm Macdonald, where he like dive bombs in on a guy's live commercial selling cars, but he paid a bunch of hookers to lay in the trunks of all the cars. So Norm walks up during the live commercial. He's opening the trunks. He's like, "That's a dead hooker in this trunk. I've never seen so many dead hookers." Oh God, it's a great scene. No, that's what happened to Roberts. He's about to render the Obamacare decision as a bunch of dead hookers everywhere. No, here's what happened to Roberts. Roberts got in his brain, he said, okay, my legacy is on the line, and the way I want to be perceived as a justice, when I could be perceived as a conservative justice or when I could be perceived as a court-centered justice, here's how I do it. I've got to support this Obamacare decision, but to uphold my conservative bona fides, I will try and carve out craftily, I will not uphold this through the Commerce Clause and further, because if he had upheld it through the Commerce Clause.
The question was, is it a tax? Right?
Right. That's what he made it. But Congress passed it as a Commerce Clause regulation. And under the Commerce Clause regulation, the only good thing about the decision is that Roberts said that this is not regulatable under the dormant Commerce Clause formed by Wickard versus Filburn, which is a garbage decision. But he said this is not that. That's the only good thing in the entire decision that he did. But then he said it is a tax. So, and here's where the indicator is. His line was, the Supreme Court's job is not to rescue America from the consequences of an election.
Yeah.
That's what he said. That's
this
how you
is
know.
Obama said this is not a tax.
Right. Right. All of the government, the entire government, the government had to hire another attorney, not a government attorney, to make the throwaway argument that it was a tax. Literally, like, the government didn't think it was a tax. The people challenging I can't remember the other party.
Citizens United, you were going to say?
No, but it's not Citizens United. It's the other one. The people challenging Obamacare, whatever. They didn't think it was a tax. Nobody thought it was a tax. They hired a guy who didn't think it was a tax, and he's like, well, I'll make the argument because you hired me to do it. He goes up, makes the argument. That's what Roberts runs with, because it was his way out to preserve his legacy as an agent of the court. And you see it again the other day when he said, we don't have Bush appointees. We don't have Obama appointees.
Yeah, that was
bad. We have the court. And he knows it's garbage. He knows it's a lie. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
He thought he was being ecumenical, and he really stepped in it because everyone knows he's wrong.
The burden of the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, is that the court that you run has your name on it forever. This will be the Roberts Court. And he was appointed as a guy who's expected to run the court for 30 to 40 years by his age. So we all know the Warren Court sucks. We know the Burger Court sucks. We know these guys by their names. We know their courts by their names. We don't know the other 8 justices. Everyone will remember the Roberts Court. No one will care that Kagan, Sotomayor, Alito, Kennedy, Breyer, Ginsburg, no one will care that any of these people contributed to it outside of specific things. They'll all refer to it once he's dead. They'll refer to it as the Roberts Court, and that's the burden on his shoulders. And he let that get into his head. That's the problem with that decision. But yeah,
But they're human. Hey, man.
Yeah.
All of politics, even the
Pride.
courts.
pride.
Human.
You mentioned pride earlier.
Pride. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it got to him that day. It really
No
did.
one more susceptible than those Supreme Court justices. Invited to all the parties, in the right place, celebrity status. I still think the
Sure.
greatest man on the court of all time is Clarence Thomas. Always has been, always will be. True humility.
Yep.
Yeah.
True humility in that man.
And they criticize him now for not writing enough. But if you go and read decisions from 1930, 1920, the 1800s, they're 6 pages long at best. And oh my God, they said so much.
You want to read a great book, read My Grandfather's Son, the Clarence Thomas memoir. This guy takes a Winnebago across America every year. This guy reads the Catholic Litany of Humility. If you want to look up the Prayer of Prayers, look up the Litany of Humility. It will destroy you. He reads that every day. This is a guy that doesn't write much because he doesn't like to hear himself talk. He practices humility. This is an amazing man. And of course, the left calls him just another dumb black Uncle Tom.
Of course.
To their shame.
Sure.
Next, Landoname is back. He says, being real here, I'm 21 and hate children. Is having a kid that fulfilling? Also, Larry, Doug, and Nick, thank you so much. Can't wait for a Weeb stream. I'll start fielding this one. Having a kid.
Hypothetically, Larry and Nick, I take your children away. Tell me about your life.
You're dead.
Yeah. It's over. Yeah. First you die, then
Honestly, someone hurts my kids in a profound way to the point like where they kill them.
I'm not saying I threaten them. I'm saying if they never existed, I remove them from your timeline. What happens to you?
I can't even picture what that life would be like. In all honesty, every single kid is such a profound change in who I am and how I see the world that now I try and retcon one kid out of existence. And I don't even know what life looks like. I really don't. I don't know what life with 4 kids looks like. I don't know what life with 3, 2, or 1 kids looks like anymore because I have these 5 little creatures that are all so unique and in their own ways. No matter how much they anger me on the average day with some weird thing that they do, it doesn't matter. I can't even picture what life would be like with even one of them gone.
Larry, I remove your daughters from your life. What's left of you?
Nothing.
That's it.
That's all you need to know, kid.
And
no.
And I'll tell you, I hate kids too.
Yeah. At 21, I hated kids.
I never wanted to be a father until I became one. I mean, I was like, I thought this was the end of my life, and I didn't realize it was the beginning of my life. Yeah. And I've had a couple of friends I've known who have lost children.
Yeah.
And
I can't imagine
that there is no greater tragedy at all in the universe than that, because it so distorts the natural order of things, and those people really just their lives really ended at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, they still function. They're hollow. They're hollowed out human beings.
I can answer your question.
That's the best parable we can give to this person who's going, I don't like kids. I don't think they're for me. It's like, no, you're about to end your life. You don't understand.
Yeah, I can honestly give you the one converse argument to all of this, Doug, is that without kids, I wouldn't have fear, I think, at all in my life.
Right.
And I think a little
nothing at stake.
Yes,
right.
Nothing.
Appropriate fear is healthy, and I would not fear anything if I did not fear failing my kids or my kids dying. Like to live your life without fear, I mean, that sounds heroic and poetic or whatever, but I don't think it is, because if you don't have something at stake, if you don't have something at risk, if you're not putting your nuts on the table, then the poker game isn't worth it. Like who plays 5-card draw and has fun without something on the line, even if it's like peanuts. You got to put something out there. And without kids, you don't have it. So
It's I had an uncle who was a very sharp attorney, and one of his customary bromides was he had 5 children, and he lost 2 of them before he died. Very sad. He said, when you have a kid, you hand a hostage to fate.
right. Yeah. Appropriately.
Yeah. These are
worded.
big thoughts that, just so for the questioner, they can see that the kids expand a man, like multiply you of whatever you ever thought you were. And we're all terrible dads. We're all imperfect dads, but they just multiply you beyond what you can imagine. And I've counseled many young married couples who just go, we're not going to have kids. I'm like, come on, guy, have a kid. They have a kid. They call me back. They're like, you told me this was a world altering ninja move. And you didn't exaggerate enough.
Yeah. There's no way you can
life,
explain
I
it.
can't imagine life without him. So
Sure.
I'm just saying, if you're a human being, and I always thought I was a sociopath, that like, no, this won't work for me. Like I'll regret having kids. Nope. It is it's bizarre.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. I heard John Travolta, who's a fruitcake on every other thing I've ever heard him talk about, but he said his kid freed him from thinking that he was the center of his own universe. I always thought that was
He still thinks that. That's bullshit.
I always thought that was pretty profound.
No, it is.
That a kid relieves you of being the center of your own. You cannot. If you're the center of your own universe after you have kids, your kids will die. It's like you will be relieved of your
you know what?
business.
I'll tell you what, Doug, on the flip side of that,
Yeah.
those parents who do not believe, as Travolta articulated,
Yeah.
are the reason this world is so fucked up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. A kid that wants to remain a child after they've had kids will F up their children. There can only
No
be
question.
one adult and one kid in the house at a time. You will be forced into adulthood in a way that you would never choose to go on your own. You just won't develop into a normal adult by choice of making tough decisions and being responsible. You have a kid, everything snaps into place. It's like, it's about them now. It's not about me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that's a terrifying move for a selfish. We're all selfish. It's a terrifying move for someone like me to make. But man, my kids just rescued me from myself.
Did you have anything else, Larry? Otherwise, I was going to move through.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Bullet point.
Berserker Bauer says, what do you use your internet for? Oh, I use it for minding my own business. Exactly. Exactly. You shut up, you weird lady at Charter. Keck7Go says, Netflix She-Ra is the gayest show I've seen in a while. This is my expert opinion. How do you feel about cartoons becoming more and more unashamedly SJW to the point of ludicrous? And he spelled it like Ludacris the rapper, not Ludacris the word. Do you really monitor?
Larry, what do you think of She-Ra Netflix?
I have no fucking idea, but you know what? I'll tell you what I watched 2 nights ago. It wasn't on Netflix, it was on Amazon Prime. And I thought, it's only 9 years old, but it probably couldn't get made today. Kick-Ass. Kick-Ass was
that's a
great
good
movie. It was fucking good. So I take it that was probably based on a comic book or graphic
It was
novel.
a Mark Millar comic book.
Right.
That scene where they do Joan Jett's My Damn Reputation song.
Yeah.
For training video. That's just a great song. Nick Cage.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Clever
it's a decent, fun movie. It's fun.
Fun movie. And it probably couldn't get made today. It'd be considered too violent, too sexist. I mean, it's not that old.
Yeah.
But
She-Ra, Larry, the current She-Ra. Imagine you take She-Ra from the 80s, right? He-Man and She-Ra.
You know what He-Man is, Larry?
yes.
He-Man, the big buff guy.
Master
They
of the
made a
Universe.
female version of that.
You
They
remember
made
you
She-Ra.
remember the pair of tits next to him?
Yes, I do. She-Ra. Yes, I do.
She-Ra, a
Yes,
female
yes.
He-Man. She was very beautiful, very thin.
Now change She-Ra
Pointy.
to either an 11-year-old girl or an androgynous, no chest, no butt, like a shape like this thing with long blonde hair.
A modern kick-ass girl, but with no voluptuousness
I just
or
pulled
womanly
up.
quality.
I just pulled up an image of She-Ra. She's standing next to a unicorn.
Yeah.
I don't know which one is more pointy.
Oh, she'd be always with a unicorn.
I love
even
pointy
back
chicks.
in the day.
Yeah, but pull up the new She-Ra, Larry, so you
All
can.
right, let me see. Let me see what this is.
Hold on,
New
Netflix.
She-Ra.
I'm gonna put your face on screen while you do.
Now
it.
this is DreamWorks,
Okay.
Nick. This is DreamWorks. who's
Yeah.
making the
Netflix
new
She-Ra.
She-Ra. They
All right,
bought the
I'm
rights.
pulling it up right now. Netflix She-Ra.
This is new She-Ra, who is a former employer of mine and perhaps a future employer of mine. So I need to be very careful on the She-Ra talk on my end.
Oh, these are not the opinions of Doug TenNapel. These are only the opinions of Larry and
Larry
Nick.
Bleidner.
Look at Larry's face.
What
I
the
don't
fuck is that? Is it what is that
I'm
supposed
not
to
sure what's wrong with
I-
new She-Ra just because she looks like a man and has no feminine qualities. Like she doesn't cry all the time and emotional.
You know what she looks I'm seeing like an androgynous Mark Hamill as I look at her.
I thought you're being redundant, sir.
Yeah.
Androgynous Mark Hamill.
I'll tell you a
Mark
funny Mark Hamill story.
Yeah.
A few years ago, they asked me to host this charity auction they do at the church every year, and they give away shit like
Was this a third appointment that you had at the church because it wasn't Christmas or Easter, so you went in there a third time for the auction?
Exactly. So, right. So they give away shit like a Stratocaster signed by Slash and a hang in the Dodger dugout with whoever. Shit, whatever.
This is L.A. Catholic Church, for which
LA
no
Catholic
one else in the country can understand.
No. And so everything sold like quick. Even, believe it or not, a guided tour of the Reagan Ranch up north of Santa Barbara by his granddaughter, who's a nursery. It was taught both my kids. He's a grammar school teacher there.
I'd pay for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and people paid handsomely for these things. I was happy to do. The one thing I could not fucking give away was lunch with Mark Hamill.
What?
No bitters.
I would love lunch with Mark Hamill.
People want me to pull up the picture of the producer of the new She-Ra, and I'm not gonna.
Oh,
Yeah, this is
Can I pull it
Noelle. What's her name? Noelle.
Noelle Stevenson. I'm gonna give you a link to the image results for it in your chat.
She did Nimona, and she did a comic called Lumberjanes.
Oh.
Yeah, I can see why.
you know what?
She's a really look. Let me defend this girl.
You can
'Cause
defend her
everyone
all you
rips on
want.
She-Ra, and I'm not gonna dive on just because I'm not gonna virtue signal to my people on the right. It is so hard to make one of these shows, guys. It is impossible.
I'm sure.
Even if you're turning She-Ra into a complete dyke virtue signaling,
There's the liquor coming through.
it is nearly impossible to write and animate and produce one of these things. And Noelle, it was just I'll go out of line and say she's a beautiful woman with short hair. And she's a fantastic artist. That you got to understand, like, this is the voice of your culture. This is your zeitgeist speaking back to you. To make this She-Ra into whatever androgynous. She does wear a skirt. I mean, who wears a skirt these days? What woman wears a skirt?
Dudes,
Dudes.
have you met them? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, I know.
Well,
Only
let me ask you
dudes,
something.
only dudes
How-
trying to convince everyone they're women wear skirts. And this is She-Ra. She's wearing a little mini skirt. She's got good looking legs.
She's got a peplum. Well, Doug, how old? Now, clearly, the original She-Ra was a mature woman.
Oh, she's a woman. Yeah.
She's a woman.
She's
How
Miss
old
America
is this
looking.
She-Ra? Is this just like a gender neutral adult female, or is this supposed to be like a preteen? What is this? What is it supposed to be?
I know. I don't know. I think it's like a teen, 16.
I don't know.
looking
All
thing.
I can say is if I shave my legs and you put me in a skirt, I'll knock your socks off, gentlemen. Let's
That's
move on.
true.
Let's move
You got to
on.
understand the
Okay.
pressure in Hollywood, and I'm sure maybe Noelle's on board or maybe she's not. I will give kudos to her as a great designer and a great artist, and I want her to keep going. And anyone who has to sell out to work in this, I mean, I'm sure she's not some hardcore Trump voter. Look, let's deal with reality here of if you're a designer in Hollywood.
Please.
But I think we can be really hard on She-Ra. and people were real. I made Veggie Tales for DreamWorks under this same kind of genre of Netflix show. My Veggie Tales was a Netflix show, and I had an audience just coming after me for whatever change you make.
Well, Doug, why didn't you make the vegetables sexier? That's the problem you had.
Yeah, I should have put bigger boobs on Larry, I guess.
Put him in a skirt.
Yeah, I'm only saying this kid, we're all floating down this culture that makes us horrified of X and Y and makes us virtue signal over X and Y in our characters. And I just don't see her as that outrageously weird, standing outside of the norm as anything else I see in culture, which is fallen. The Titanic is sinking. Reproduce, get married and reproduce, people.
There you go. Okay, Paul Godin says, I once convinced a telemarketer selling vacations that I was a workaholic and only wanted to work until I died. Good job, buddy.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, true. Like every good man, Larry, you're gonna no retirement plan, just gonna work till you drop, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. And drink.
Die at my desk, you suckers.
Right.
Happy Hobbit says, I'm about to have twin boys.
Yay.
And found I have to deploy for about a year when they are 8 months old.
Oh,
shit.
Name them bacon and egg. Name them things, peanut butter and jelly. Name them things that go together.
How would you guys stay connected if you were gone that long? I will have rudimentary internet access. I would say as often as possible, record videos of yourself.
Yeah.
We have the ability now. Like you know you're about to have twin boys. Make videos. Like they don't have to be anything special. They're going to be 8 months old. They're going to go eight months to 20 months. They're likely not going to remember what's in the videos ever in their life. Just make videos so they know you. That's it. That's it. They just need to see your face, hear your voice.
That's a good one.
Doesn't matter if you're reading a newspaper. Doesn't matter if you're sitting on a couch watching TV talking. Make videos so they hear you. They hear you. When you come home, or when you call, when you get that chance to video chat and they hear you and they react, it's going to melt your heart, buddy. I'm telling you.
I love that idea, and I would augment it maybe with, along with each video, have some kind of a box of tchotchke, of maybe a stuffed toy, or something, because little kids are very tactile. You know, they like to feel and smell and touch. Good. Sometimes it's hard to keep their eyes on a screen.
Yeah.
So give them something to go along with that. That's tactile and real. That complements the video. That mommy can then go back and feel this, touch this, look at daddy while because that's tough stuff, man. I feel.
Yeah, Larry, how old in a man are you?
I have no idea.
Over 50. I'm 52. What would you give to have a video of your dad on like 8mm talking into a camera when you're 8 months old and him telling you what he thinks of you?
You know, I'll tell you what, I've thought about that, Doug, a lot. And I'm kind of a photography freak. You know, did a little bit of professional and a hell of a lot of amateur shooting. And I have just a sick amount. I've got like 2 terabytes full of fucking images of my kids from birth. You know when I look at those, never. Because all it does is I love them to death, but it just reminds me of the passage of time, and that they're not little kids anymore; they're teenage kids. And so when I think of my dad or my mom, I don't even like to look at pictures of them because it's sort of I don't know why. For some reason, and I can't explain why. When I think of them, just in my mind's eye, it's a pleasant experience. It's good. But if I look at an image, I get kind of sad. I don't know why that is.
But if it was your dad saying like, son, this is what I wish for you when you're 60 years old.
I'd fucking burst into tears.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, I'm only saying we can make that connection. And by the way, to this person going off to serve our country, I mean, this shows the kind of sacrifice our people make to defend this country. Breaks my heart.
Yeah.
You're spending time away from your family, and thank you. First of all, thank you. But you can minimize that that distance with videos and Skype. And when you're home, be a present dad. I mean, if you spend more than 15 minutes a day with your kid when you're back on leave, you'll end up spending more time with your kids than the average American dad anyways.
Sure.
If you just spend hours and hours with them, you can, I don't know if you can make up for it, but you can do a whole lot to where they know you're serving your country is why you're gone. And it doesn't have to be an empty house or anything.
No.
I mean, I'd be thrilled to know that my dad served in Korea before I was born, but if my dad had to go out and, spend leaves out months at a time, years at a time, I'd be okay with that. That's part of sacrificing for your country. Your family sacrifices for your country.
Yeah, and the thing I want to stress here is you're talking about babies who are 8 months to 18 months.
Yeah.
You spending time with them in those first 8 months, crucial, critical, important. They're going to know you. They're going to hear you. They already
your
do.
voice would be great. Your voice is great.
If you're around the mother, I'm going to assume she's your wife, but even if she's not, if you're around the mother, they've already heard you. And trust me, they'll remember. So the thing is that 8 months leading up to it, and then the sights and sounds as these are 8-month-old kids starting to really see, because the first couple months they really don't. But as they're 8 months, they're starting to see a little bit. They're starting to hear a lot more than you think.
Yeah.
Just let them hear you. Just let them hear you. When you get on a call, when you come back, whichever one it is, and they hear that voice again, they're going to react. They're going to know you. And that's the point. It literally, like you can make something, you can give them advice. People are saying in the chat, Coach Red Pill, for example, gives his kids advice through videos and stuff like that. These are 8 to 20-month-old kids. You can give them advice. They can look back on this when they're older. I'm just saying, make anything, make you reading a book. It doesn't matter. The sound of your voice, the look of your face is what they're going to react to when you come home. Okay?
Yeah, just that you care enough to do this is, and ask the question is, I'm not worried about your family.
You're in good shape.
They're in good shape. They're in good hands.
Okay, moving on. Rhaegar Targaryen. Rhaegar. I guess that's a Game of Thrones reference. I love how they behave as if Ruth Bader Ginsburg was the first woman SCOTUS and forgot about Sandra Day O'Connor. Well, yeah, Sandra Day O'Connor didn't fit the narrative at all.
Yeah, she was Roberts before Roberts anyways. She turned her back on abortion. Sandra Day.
Yep.
You're just another. Yeah, goodbye.
Ubercube says, Nick, you are an awesome nibba. And I'm sorry I haven't been able to give you money for a while. Well, I am sorry, but thankful that you are able to return. I really, really do appreciate it. This is all stuff that you guys choose to give, and I appreciate every single cent that you send my way. It helps me do what I do, helps me make the show better, and I hope to continue making a show that you guys wish to provide. So thank you for contributing what you can. Never feel bad for not contributing, though. Never, ever feel bad.
Yeah.
You don't ever have to apologize for that or anything like that. Everything is gravy and gift to me, and I appreciate it very much.
Are they paying you for the size of your cans?
Yes.
Look at those headphones. You need a helmet.
We do have small, medium, and you get the buds. He's got
I've got the
cans, and I
buds.
got these
It has to
cans.
do with I have a lack of super chat, and I think it has to do with the
Hey,
cans.
get out of this lingerie ad, A-Cup. I don't even need you here.
I know. I need like a triple E sized, like a helmet. I just need like a motorcycle helmet with
So
the
my
cans inside.
the story of these, I did
Stormtrooper.
not buy these at all. My dad bought at a charity auction. There was a very nice 17-inch laptop, high-powered laptop, an Alienware or whatever. So it's a nice gaming laptop or whatever. And we're at a charity auction for Make-A-Wish. You know, the thing where the kids are really sick and they try and make them happy for a little bit and let the parents kind of forget about what the kids are going through. We're at a charity event for Make-A-Wish. There's a computer there, no bids on it. Minimum bid is like $1,500 or something like that. So he throws a bid down. He's like, I don't want this thing to just sit here and them not to get money on what's a pretty nice donation. And so he throws the bid on there and gets it. And so then the headphones were part of the package. So he's like, I don't need these. You want these? So that's why I have these headphones. They're actually
They barely fit on screen.
I know they're huge, but they're really nice. You guys sound great. I actually am thoroughly attracted to both of you while listening to this headphone. So
I've got thin earbuds on. This
Doug,
is
you got to get the wife a pair of these headphones and just sing her sweet songs all night.
I do. I gotta get those giant noise canceling. I'll bet you can just go to sleep in and just you don't hear a thing.
Okay, so moving on.
Larry's have red on them, fashionable red.
Aren't those cool?
Yeah, they are. Are those Beats headphones, Larry?
No, these are fucking JVC. They're $15.
They look like Iron Man. You look like Iron Man.
And they're kind of like, I think they're called like semi-open air, whatever that, because if I wear the ones like Nick has where they completely seal, the thing, my brain starts to sweat. And
well, I'm offended at how I sound through your headphones. That's what I
am. Those are inappropriate.
I want to be all in your ear, Larry.
We're trust me.
We're having oral relations here.
No external sound going in is what you want. It's purity.
Just me. I'm the only man in your ear.
Audio purity.
Tillip says Cotton Hill could never be on TV in 2018. Have you guys you familiar with Cotton Hill? The dad, Hank Hill's dad from King of the Hill is Cotton Hill.
Okay.
He had his shins blown off by a Chinaman, and he had his back in Vietnam, and he had his feet sewn onto his knees. That's Cotton Hill.
I like that.
And he looks like Mike Pence, unironically.
This is the first I've heard of it, but yeah, I'll approve. Yeah.
Oh man, you should look up some Cotton Hill clips. He's hilarious.
I will look at that. I like the sound of that.
I love King of the Hill, and I love it for one reason. Well, two reasons. One, the niece's name in King of the Hill is Luann Platter, and if you've ever been to a Luby's cafeteria, you've ordered yourself a Luann platter.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And that's where you get the dinner and the two sides and the biscuit. That's the Luann platter.
The Luann platter in Luby's.
If you've never been to a Luby's, man, you don't know. It's not a buffet. Don't you dare mistake it for a buffet where you some disgusting all-you-can-eat fiasco. No, Luby's is a cafeteria where you literally go up, you get a tray, you get one pass. You get one pass through the food line at Luby's. You get your fried chicken, you get your mashed potatoes and corn. They dump gravy on it. You get your roll, your dinner roll, and then you pay that extra 10 cents and you get your Land O'Lakes butter little pad. You better pay that 10 cents, you scumbag. You get that. And then you get like your pudding that's a little extra or whatever dessert that you want that fits in a little stupid cup. And then you get a drink with it. That's the good thing. But you don't get to go back. This is not a buffet. This is a cafeteria. Very different. But
This is not that sellout Bob Evans garbage.
No,
Golden Corral garbage. None of that sellout. No.
No. And not some old country buffet or whatever.
Asian buffet.
CC's Pizza buffet. No, this is a cafeteria. This is how food was. It'll take you right back to high school, except the food is way better. Luby's actually, I unironically love going to Luby's. It brings me right back to when I was a kid. I gotta find a Luby's now.
I gotta find one.
Yeah, they have them in Texas. They have them in the southeast. I don't know if they make it all the way over to your neck of the woods, Doug, but
definitely not LA. Sorry, Larry.
No, there's no
there's no smell, not even a whiff.
I'm pretty sure though the parent company that owns Luby's also owns Popeyes and several other fine restaurant establishments. So
Popeyes got the chicken. Popeyes.
They do. And I always got the fried chicken at Luby's. The second reason I love King of the Hill is because one line from Hank Hill. He's talking to his son Bobby. Bobby says something, I don't even remember what it was. He says, "Bobby, if you weren't my son, I would hug you."
That is good.
I love it.
If you weren't my son, I'd hug you.
I love that. Okay, CMYK Comics. Hey, Nick, can my buddy who is over 18 but under 21 get medicinal marijuana card in Washington State? I have no idea. DM me on Twitter or something and ask me that question, and I would be happy to look at what the statute says. But I just don't know off the top of my head because I'm not in
You got
Washington.
your whole life in front of you, bro. Don't be doing pot when you're 21.
Wait till you're 25.
Wait till you're in your 40s. I mean, if you're in your 40s and life is hard, fine, get some pot. If you're in your 21, go work the grill at McDonald's. That's a better high. If you master the lunch rush at McDonald's, that's a high you can be proud of. Instead of blotting out, what pain do you know? What pain? Okay, if dad touched you or if uncle touched you wrong, fine, get some pot. If they didn't touch you, then you get a job at McDonald's instead of getting high, because you have no right to start blotting out that little thing that you call pain in your life.
And then you live with your parents and you use all that disposable income, since you're not paying them rent, to buy weed until you're 37.
No, you throw it on the market, bro. Throw it on the
Bulletin
market.
them both in a fit of rage.
Take that money you're going to spend on weed and throw it on the market.
You buy Bitcoin, you go on the dark web, and you buy weed.
Solid state stuff. On the market.
Okay, next. Landana May, I'm super drunk. Keep watching anime. Great stream. Thanks, buddy. Keck7Go says, would you guys encourage gay couples to adopt kids? Sorry for demonetizing you, Nick. I forgive you. I actually left off the early part of Keck's question about She-Ra. He also said, do you monitor your kids, monitor the media your kids consume, and can I legally spy on your kids? Okay, backwards order, because I can answer this one first. Yes, you can legally spy on your kids. 2, I monitor loosely the media my kids consume to make sure it's not just absolute degeneracy. But outside of that, I give them some leeway.
Me too.
Okay, and finally, would you guys encourage gay couples to adopt kids? That's a tough one.
I would not. I would discourage it. However, that's with a huge however. So I only think that because every kid is entitled to a mother and a father. So I'm against single people adopting kids like Laura Ingraham. And I'm against married gay couples getting kids. Because I think every kid, like just imagine with your mother and father, which would you be glad to do without, your mother or your father, to have two fathers? I just think every mother, and I actually think every parent needs to have both sexes. Like I think every dad ought to have a daughter and a son, and every mother ought to have a daughter and a son, just to get the full experience. So because gay couples are not ideal, I would not recommend they do that. However, any kid with no parents sitting in an orphanage somewhere, I don't even know if those exist anymore, those Dickinsonian orphanages, of course a gay parent couple, same-sex couple, would be better than no parents at all. But that's the caveat I would give, and I know that's very unpopular and a terrible thing to say. However, those are my values.
No, and I think there's wisdom in that. And what I would say is, one, we can make rules for all sorts of things. Like my rule is never apologize for anything. Yeah. Like that's literally my rule. However, you'll find me apologize for things from time to time. If I get something wrong, if I do something, you set the general principle. So as a general principle, I don't know if I would encourage. First of all, I wouldn't encourage anyone to adopt kids at all, much less a gay couple. And here's why. Adopting kids is not something you should be encouraged into. Adopting kids should be something that you make the most informed and strategic choice of your life, because that's not your blood. And I don't care what anybody says. That's not your blood, and there's something different about that relationship. It doesn't mean it's less. Don't mistake me.
But you have to be driven to it.
You have to choose it, and you will have to choose it every single day. The same way that you choose a wife or a husband, you have to choose every single day to love that child. There's no biological imperative for you to do so. There's no if you want to take the evolutionary approach, there's no evolutionary incentive that rewards your brain with dopamine
Get
or whatever.
genes in the next generation. What a lie.
There's none of that.
Yeah.
You're taking a purely altruistic position, which as a rule, I oppose purely altruistic positions. You're taking
Oh, I'm so
that.
for them. We're in such disagreement there. I'm so for altruism.
No. That's I'm saying pure altruism.
And Randian foul being, you foul no.
I gotta be real, Doug. And I do things.
40,000 worshiping the wrong God.
I'm talking about when pure altruism is different than altruism. Altruism is I do something that I know will benefit someone else because I know it will benefit them, and not that knowledge benefits me.
Yeah.
That's a different thing than pure altruism, whereas I will do the thing that benefits someone else, even though it will not benefit me. I will do it. Or if
that's me 100%. Here's why.
Why don't you like gay parents, Doug? No, I'm just kidding.
You and I were adopted by God. So because we were adopted in his family and he didn't need us, that I see it as kind of paying it forward. Is that I think I never gave any of my biological children my name. There's no Doug Jr. out there. I always told my wife, I go, that's reserved in case we ever adopt a kid. Because I want to show him that even though he was not my blood, he gets my name before my blood children do. Like I always assumed we'd adopt, and we never did. So I'm just saying, I get that it's like a white knuckle discipline. It's not, by the way, for most people who adopt kids. They have a blast. I've met tons of adopted kids. They do fine.
No,
it's not a big deal. They become your blood.
I think so, but I think people who go into it with anything less than the right mindset, with anything less than a thoughtful choice to do it. That's why it's.
But we can assume that gay couples go into it with the right mindset. I hope.
Not if they're encouraged to do so.
Yeah, like culturally, the idea that you become a legit gay couple when you adopt, like now you're even more solidified in your mind culturally to be a real family or whatever if you adopt. Of course, that's ridiculous.
Right.
But,
And that's what I'm saying. It's ridiculous for straight people, for single people, for gay married people. It doesn't matter who you are. You shouldn't be encouraged into doing adoption because it matters so much to the kid that you should be making a conscious choice based on your own perceptions. And I'm not going to discourage a gay couple from adopting because, as Doug said, two gay parents are objectively better than no parents or even one parent. I would suggest that might be true as well. The thing is, you should not be encouraged into an action that has such a profound impact on someone else's life. You should ignore whatever encouragement or discouragement is coming, and make that choice on your own. And commit to it.
These are also hypotheticals. I mean, these are
right.
These are heterosexual people or straight white kids asking, "Hey, should gays be able to adopt?" So they're not even thinking of these things that we're addressing.
Right.
I think the distinction should be, regardless of adoption, whether it's an adopted kid or a biological kid. The question is, when you have that, whether you adopt that kid or make that kid, is it something you really want to do, or is it an acquisition? Yeah. And I think a lot of people, both biological parents and adoptees, unfortunately, it's a fucking acquisition. It's like, I get a new set of wheels or a vacation home or a Rolex, whatever the fuck it is. And that is a tragedy.
Yeah. But Larry, there's so many lonely kids around the world that go, "Hey, acquire me, use me, I'll do all the chores."
I knew
you'd rather have that than no parents.
I had a client of mine in New York who ran a very famous apparel company, and that was just sort of she made a shit pile of money, and that was just the fun money. Her husband was like a fucking partner at Goldman Sachs. I mean, he made the real cake, like 8 figures.
Yeah. And
so she decided to adopt a kid, and great, that's wonderful, and the money. I mean, my God, So, so she adopts this kid, and I figure, that's it for her. Somebody else is going to run the company. At
Yeah.
least she'll take at least like a year leave of absence or something,
Yeah.
because money was no object, none, right? And a couple months after she adopts, she's back in the job, handing
Yeah.
the kid to a nanny. And I never said it at the time, but I wanted to say, why the fuck did you get that kid?
Yeah.
Why? Why?
Yeah,
Because
just
I'll tell you why. Because
She
it was
wa-
an acquisition.
she
Really
wanted to
didn't want
employ a
keep.
nanny.
Exactly.
yeah, just
Exactly. And I thought that's so fucked up and wrong. If you really want to adopt a kid, great, but raise that kid. Don't
Yeah.
just take it and hand it to somebody
Yeah.
else. And a lot of
the kids in foster care are in such a dire situation of feeling parentless and just lost. They'd almost take an abusive relationship over nothing.
probably, yeah.
And from the ones that I've seen, it's not like everything's fine and you're going to make it worse. It's like you can be a complete screw up and adopt one of these kids and they do nothing but thank you or stab you in your sleep. But
my
sometimes you get a bad one.
Given time.
my final thoughts on adoption are that my in-laws adopted 4 kids.
Yeah.
They have 7 total children, 3 biological. They have 4 adopted kids, and I am thankful for every single one that they adopted.
Yeah.
And I could not imagine. And 2 of them were adopted after my wife and I got married. They were adopted as older children, and they're some of the best people in my life, and I'm very happy that they did. But again, it's not no one encouraged or pressured or suggested that they should do this. It was a choice that they made as a family. They were doing the foster care route and chose to adopt the foster kids because they fit in their. I don't want to say they fit in their family. That's not what it's about. It's we love these children in our family, and that's what they chose to do at that point. And that's different than going and picking up a baby from adoption list. And that's not to denigrate either one of those choices, but they're just different things.
I don't want a baby because I hate babies, but I'd love to get like some kids. I'd like to adopt some kids. I just think it'd be
only getting as many kids as I have rakes.
Yeah. Yeah. Put them to work. No, I just think my heart just goes out. I just feel like I've been blessed with so much. I just feel like, man, I'd sure like to pay this forward. And I don't care if this kid even stabbed me. It's like, I feel an obligation to give back and I don't know how to do it enough. So maybe I should just be a better dad to my own kids,
Yeah, that's the other hard part. How many kids do you have, and are you treating them right? Okay, but that's a lot of questions. Land on a May says our weeb stream is going to be cancer to Doug Daddy.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
only if I saw it, Landon and May. Only if I saw it.
I'm gonna send it. A weeb stream is where I had one the other day. I had this.
Weeaboo.
I had
Landon.
this. Yeah, I had a guest on by the name of Anime Outsiders, who was threatened by a voice actress, Tara Strong. And if you've heard voice acting,
I know her. Yeah.
Yeah, she did this video where she was in an Uber, and she got into an argument with her Uber driver, who is an immigrant American.
Yeah.
And she basically said that she was born here.
I saw that. I saw that video.
Yeah,
Tara
yeah.
Strong. Yep.
So funny story. She was born in Canada, so it's a little different. But anyway, so she took that video down. Anime Outsiders is kind of it's an anime critiquing website, and they do a podcast and stuff like that. But their Twitter account kind of just trolls people and stuff like that. And they were posting clips and stuff of the Tara Strong video, and she sent a cease and desist through not a lawyer but like a manager or whatever to them. And so I invited them on the stream to talk about the Tara Strong stuff. And then after that, I spent about 4 hours talking to that guy plus Landanime. We invited him on to just talk about anime and stuff like that. That's a weeb stream. It was a lot of fun, and we're going to do another one. And Doug,
is weeb like an acronym or something? What is the word weeb?
Isn't it?
It's short for weeaboo, which is like a person who's obsessed with anime.
Okay. Got it.
So we'll do another one. And Doug, you won't be able to escape. We're gonna send you like all sorts of clips and screenshots and stuff, and like to everywhere. We're gonna mail them to you, and you'll open them. You'll open it up, and the it'll be one of those things where you open the card, and there's like a slide thing that slides it across and makes it an animated panel.
And a giant clip of a plant going after a girl showing her panties.
It'll be just a
haired girl
like
showing her panties.
You'll have a recording of our voice. It'll be one of those audio cards. We're gonna send you all this stuff and just ruin
with
your
the
life.
Japanime theme song. Oh, Hamdarasakai. Hamdarasakai. That's all their music in their theme songs.
So, okay, moving on. Happy Hobbit, who is the guy who had the twins coming, he says, "Thanks, guys, great advice." And yes, it's my wife, you heathen Nick. I don't know. These days, you never can tell. I'm glad you're married to a lovely woman who is having your twins, and good job propagating your bloodline and
Good
making
job landing that girl. Yeah, being a man. Yeah, and then serving your country, manly.
And
nothing wrong with that.
Making your life and country better in two ways. One, through having children who will inherit your values, and two, through serving it through your service. So thank you so much.
Yeah, stabbing bad guys in the head.
Yeah. Kill someone with your helmet for me. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Please don't have to deal with killing anybody. But if you do end up in a position where you have to kill someone, do it with your helmet, because that's awesome.
Kill a bad guy. Make sure it's you killing them, not them killing you. That's the Patton way.
Yes. Sex with Clients says, we live in a society where lawyers can't sleep with clients, but doctors can kill babies. And I think that's a problem. I agree. I agree with this person.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah.
Siren.
Nick, you never slept with a client?
I have not had to represent my wife, so I have not.
That's not a clear no.
No, I do not. That's a gross violation of my ethical responsibilities. Unless you have a pre-existing intimate relationship with a client, you cannot sleep with them. Going
also
forward.
not a no.
No is the answer. I've never slept with a client.
Thank you, counselor.
You're welcome. Any further questions, Your Honor?
I rest.
Siren Jag says, why would Doug wish the horrors of the weapons-grade acne that runs rampant among fast food cooks on anyone? That was when you suggested getting a job at a McDonald's or something.
Yeah. Like the military. Well, not quite like the military. But it serves just like you serve your country with the military. You serve business with working fast food. You learn to work in a chain, on a factory lineup. You take people's money. You give them pleasure. You've eaten just a big old sloppy fast food burger or a Taco Bell taco. It just puts a little piece of joy. It's like watching a I Love Lucy episode. Just a little happiness in a person's heart. That's all. And you pay the price. You got to give up a little acne. Your face just explodes in oils. But you learn so much about business and taking orders and discipline and showing up and getting a paycheck. And they have really good benefits. Most of these big fast food chains have good benefits.
And you also learn about Clearasil and Proactive.
Clearasil and Proactive, yeah. Oxy-10.
Wait. Ryan English. How late is too late in life to start having kids? I worry that if I ever pull it off, I'll die before they hit 30. What I'll say about that is your kid will be happy to be alive.
Yeah.
So they'll value the time they have with you. If you die before they hit 30, people's parents die. Almost universally, children outlive their parents. Not entirely. Obviously, some parents do have to bury their children, and we all think that that's the wrong way that things should be. Yeah. There's something profoundly wrong with a parent burying a child. But everything to do with child burying their parent, whether they do it at 29 or whether they do it at 55,
the goal is to get your kid to 18, so you've got 12 years to spare.
Yeah.
The real thing is, if you understand the ticking clock, then it's time to get on it. Get on it. Be serious about your dating. Be marriage-minded. Be kid-minded if you're married. That's a wise move.
And
that's how all of life works, guys. This is where all of us came from. We all came from a man and a woman. Some of us were luckiest to come from a man and a woman who got married. So it's like, reverse engineer that plan out. It's like, get married, have kids. That shouldn't even be remotely controversial. Only in an imbecilic, suicidal Western society is that even remotely controversial? Can't believe I have to even say that.
Oh, and
True, it is.
by the way, get married, have kids, be employed,
Yeah.
and remain employed,
Yeah.
and remain married, and you will be the least likely person to be murdered, to murder, or to commit any crime.
Yeah.
That's it.
You'll be wealthier. You'll have better sex. You'll tend to vote conservative. You'll have you'll be a happier person than the trajectory of any alternate to those things in general.
Okay, next, Landon Mack and James. Hope Doug watches the Weeb stream. Akira isn't the best. Doug, when we do the Weeb stream, I'm going to just randomly send you a link, and you can pop in at any time and call us a bunch of degenerate turd bags.
I will. I'll come on just to scream.
Yeah, it'll be good. But if you scream, which I will let you do all you want, I will let you scream all you want. I do want you to argue your position on anime.
I will. It will be the longest rant you've heard in your rant with zero punctuation in your life.
I don't think you've ever seen me truly rant.
I wish I was Larry, who doesn't even know what anime is. That's how bad it is. If I could be you or Larry, I'd be Larry when it comes to anime.
Okay, next is...
I do really need to don those giant headphones. That would probably... throw a disc.
Just shut the world out. Keck7 Go. Did Doug just call me straight? WTF. Also, how the F are you supposed to spell ludicrous? Why can't black people spell? This is Keck's words, not mine.
Oh, here comes.
All they do is axe and shiz. Well, ludicrous is a rapper. That's a proper name. Ludicrous, the word about something being ridiculous, is ludicrous.
That's Mike Tyson. I'll use that word. This is ludicrous when we were talking about his lawsuit.
Exactly.
This is ludicrous.
Exactly. Next, Berserker Bauer says, on adoption, they're not blood, but you still pass on a part of yourself in the form of the values you teach them, and it's still better for the kid. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The thing I say about they're not blood is there's something, and speaking as a foster parent, Lady Rackets and I were foster parents for a while. And then we had a bunch of our own kids, and it made it difficult to become a foster parent. There's something different about not your kid.
Yeah, of course.
Not your blood.
Sure.
And what you have to do is you have to short circuit that not your blood thing and make the choice. And when you do, and people do, it absolutely becomes that. You bypass that thing and you make a conscious decision to choose that child. That's what I'm saying with the not your blood thing. But there's like, trust me, I can be at a Walmart and hear 1,000 kids screaming and hate every one of them, and my kid will scream and I won't care. Yeah. There's just a different thing, and you have to short circuit and bypass that on adoption. And that's why I'm saying, like, you can't be encouraged or persuaded or forced or sold into it.
But if you adopted, Nick, you'd click into place.
Yes.
Like some white knuckle thing. I mean, you stand up and do your thing.
I'm not saying it's a thing that's like difficult to do. I'm saying when you do it, just do that. Make that choice for the benefit of the child. Not like that it can't be done or it's some super huge hurdle, but you have to actively decide, I'm going to take on this kid. I'm going to do this. I'm going to love them in a way that is not natural to me. And I'm going to short circuit that and bypass it. And then you do. Yeah. And then you do.
But go all the way back to like all through history, Bible times, Moses. I mean, all these people were adopted. It goes all the way back.
Yeah, but Moses went back and wreaked havoc on the land of his father.
At some point, the paternal instinct, it does click in. It really does.
It's at the 8th plague that it clicks in.
Which one was that?
We know adoptive kids. Come on, adoptive kids. It's not that white knuckly for most people. They adopt a kid, they raise them as their own.
Okay, next thing, Where Tiger Ray. This is on the same subject. That's why we're moving on quickly. And yet some states are trying to make it so gay couples cannot adopt. I'm sure they would be going to loving homes, yet some straight couples get to treat them like acquisitions. Now, let me just point out that if you would have put a comma after gay, it would have changed the whole sentence. Let me reread it that way. And yet some states are trying to make it so gay, couples can't adopt. I'm sure they would be going to loving family. No, but yeah, and I'm opposed. I'm opposed to the state dictating the structure of a family. I'm so opposed to it that I'm opposed to the state having a say in gay marriage, even if I personally may disagree with, because on principle, I have my definition of marriage and other people have a different one. The one party
it's a federal right? You think it's a federal issue?
no, I think it's absolutely the opposite. Here's my position on gay marriage. I don't want the state at all to tell anybody or incentivize anyone to marriage in either direction for anything at all. I think the state should issue, if anything, some sort of civil union that says two people, and I don't care if they're brother and sister, brother and brother, mother and son, father and daughter, whatever it is. I think if two people are going to share and consolidate income, resources, and expenses, then if the state wants to go ahead and incentivize a tax break, because like, well, two adults are consenting, or even three or four or whatever it is, are consenting to live under one roof under some sort of contractual obligation, then the state might have, I'm not saying they necessarily do, they might have an interest in offering some sort of tax break to those people. Outside of that, I don't want the state defining marriage, because the state is definitely going to define it differently than I do. I don't want the state affirming or disapproving of any relationship, because if I think that the state can't say gay people can get married, or if I say the state can say gay people can't get married, at some point I have to think the state can say that Christians can't get married or straight people can't get married. That's a logical outcome. I don't want the government involved at all. I want them to not say a thing about it. I don't want marriage to be in any property of the government. If you want to issue civil unions, you go ahead and do that under the enumerated powers of Congress. You choose that route, then we can argue about that. But for marriage, I want marriage to be defined by the people who it means something to. So for me, I want marriage to be defined in my Christian understanding of marriage as a traditional relationship between man and woman. For the gay couple, I want them to understand marriage as their loving expression of marriage and choice to be committed between two people, if that's how they understand it. And I have no problem with that. I just don't want them telling me that my definition of marriage is different, and I will never tell them that that is wrong, and I will never tell them their definition of marriage is wrong, because I don't care. I don't care what other people think about it. I think people are wrong about everything all the time. I don't see why marriage should get some special sort of privilege in that regard. So that's my position. I also hate the state, and I hate the state's involvement in anything. And certainly not the most important decision that I've made in my entire life.
My position, which is different than Nick's because I'm not libertarian, mine's actually correct in that it's conservative Republican, is that both the state and the nation have a reason to dictate which naturally occurring relationships it wants to endorse for purely selfish reasons and which one it does not. It has no reason to endorse a same-sex marriage or same sexes raising a kid. That's experimental. That's new. It has every reason in the world to endorse a normal heterosexual marriage and one where they can reproduce kids and create more taxpayers. So it has a selfish reason for doing it, both at the state level and the national and the governmental level. That's the only reason why they should be involved with marriage. If the entire nation told me right now it was illegal for me as a Christian to marry my wife, I would flip it a giant middle finger and not care, because it would change my life zero. I'd still happily marry my wife privately, and that they would choose not to endorse it and say, oh, you can't have legal rights to visit your wife on her deathbed. Big deal. That's like what, 0.11% of people who get screwed out of that thing. I'd still live a really great, happy life, happily married before God to my wife. All those other arguments are false arguments. They're made by virtue signaling people. They really don't apply to reality at all. The government has a reason to endorse and promote heteros, one man, one woman, not one man and three women, not three women and three women, not five men and two women, not a woman and a couch, not a woman and a dolphin, not a legal aged father and a legal aged daughter who choose to get married. There's a
You
reason
haven't been to
why.
Utah.
Well, Utah, yeah. Okay, let's go back to this. Like, this is like a common sense thing, and we're driven mad as soon as you're not allowed to be commonsensical about it. You will start making bad law.
No, here's what I'll say in response to that.
Yeah.
Taxation is theft. You come.
Yes, agree. We agree. No, we agree on that. Zero taxation beyond like a standing army and maybe a few roads. Everything else, we ought to go to another civil war over.
And we ought to go back, in my opinion, we ought to go
are.
back to strictly consumption-based tax, not this
Yeah.
income-based tax.
Yes.
Yeah.
Never going to happen, though.
No, it's not. They'll do the the VAT tax, the value-added tax. They'll still slap that right on top of a normal 50% tax rate.
Yep.
Don't get me started on tax. I mean, there's no reason for it.
No,
But you can see a reason why a society would say, we got to benefit us some families right now. We need to get some families going. We need to crank out some kids. We need to give some benefits to people having kids, favor them, because we don't have we'll be pulling in illegals. Basically, we need people from other countries to come in who do reproduce, because we do not, just like Europe.
Well, sure.
That's the slow death of the West, is we're going to die by suicide. Our men don't marry, and when we do marry, we do not have enough kids.
Yep.
It's
I'll
the slow death of the West.
I'll drink to that.
Pat Buchanan.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It was Pat Buchanan's book 20 years ago, Death of the West. And it's you want to read something chilling, and everything that guy predicted, and that book is probably 20 years old, has come true. Exactly what Doug's saying.
The problem with that is I hate Pat Buchanan.
Yeah, me too. However, yeah, broken clock.
It's prophetic. Hate him or not,
doesn't mean his book is wrong. I just hate the guy. Landon McAjames, and I think this is important to the subject, very much important, and I agree 100% with this. He says, Doug, you are so ignorant about anime, you cuck.
Man, you don't know how happy it is to hear that when you say that. It's like baptizing me and taking me down to the river and baptizing me in purity and manliness when you say that. Thank you, Landon Mack and James. You made my day.
Okay, next one. Peter Pete. This is the last chat that's come through, and I think we're coming up on 3 hours here, so we probably all need to.
I gotta go to bed.
Yeah. Peter Pete says, I have a child from a marriage. Is it wrong that female I dated want children? I break up with them. I want no more because I lost $200,000 last marriage. So I'm guessing he means $200,000, not 200,000 children, because he's not Solomon.
Or Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah, or Wilt Chamberlain. The new Solomon is Wilt. No, like here's the thing, buddy. There's certainly there's a lot to the United States divorce process is an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
And particularly for men and children. For women, it seems to work pretty much okay. And I hate to say it that way, because they'll be like, oh, women will say, oh, the pain of what happened, all this stuff, and the betrayal or whatever. I don't care. Like, all of that stuff can go both ways prior to court. But what happens when you get to court and you get to the divorce process is simply that even though the law says they need to be blind on gender, they're not. 85% of women win custody. 85% of women, I think it is, win support because they win custody. And a man has no say in any of this. A man, like, we give women the right to adoption. Listen to this, guys. And sorry to rant on this for just a second, but I was teaching my high school law class, and we were talking about liberties, right? And I mentioned, I happened to drop the idea of a made up right. And they said, what's a made up right? And I said, okay, well, in Roe versus Wade, under the 9th Amendment, Justice Black, who wrote the opinion, he created this
right to privacy.
I shouldn't say he created it. He decided that the Ninth Amendment encompassed a right to privacy in healthcare. However, the only time that a right to privacy in healthcare exists, the only time, is when you are a woman who is pregnant and less than 28 weeks pregnant and you want to kill your baby. That's the only time the government has no say in your healthcare. That's it. That's it. Try and not give your kid cancer treatments and see how much privacy you have in your child's healthcare. Yeah. Try and go do.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg said it was a screwed up decision.
Right. Try and give yourself
take her soul
steroids.
soon.
Try and give yourself steroids and see if the government has no interest in healthcare. Try and take Sudafed for your cold, and you tell me you have a privacy right in healthcare. Men do not ever get it. Men will never, ever, ever have a privacy right in healthcare that trumps the state's interest in your healthcare. Yes. Only women who aren't 28 weeks pregnant or less and want to kill their baby. Because if you want to keep your baby alive and you're at 20 weeks pregnant, the state has every interest in your healthcare. Yeah. It's the weirdest thing that Justice Black has carved out this most hyper-specific right that exists in the Constitution or in any law.
Yeah. Wow. Total fraud.
So here's
what happens when you chase ends, people, and not principle. When you go for a preferred end instead of a correct principle, you'll start just listening to what's going on around you in your culture and right and left and go, and then you'll start inventing new principles to justify your ends. And that's how you get lost.
Right. And where I'm going with this is that men will never, ever, ever have the decision to kill their child. Never once in the United States will a man have any say over what a woman does with that child. And I don't think the woman should, personally, I think abortion should be outlawed immediately. Absolutely. I think the state has every interest in protecting a life of a future citizen, because that's one of the state's only legitimate jobs, is protecting the life of its citizenry. But that's my opinion. But as long as a woman has a right to abort babies, then the parental system, the divorce court system can never be equal, because a man cannot demand a woman to abort her baby, but he will always be stuck with the bill if she wins custody. And that's not balanced. So
don't divorce. Do your best.
How about take it earlier than that? Just fucking marry the right person instead of divorcing. How about that?
Yeah. So to the guy who's already had a kid and lost that marriage, Larry, would you recommend he move on and reproduce? Because I would, but would you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just I mean, you can't. It's a tough call, but the bottom line is, I'm not getting the audio here. Did I lose you guys?
No, we got you.
Okay, all right. People, it's insane that, I mean, it's an old adage, but it's fucking true. Getting married should be at least as difficult as it is to get divorced. Okay, you've got the whole fucking process backwards, and people, everybody here has said it's the most crucial decision of your life, and that's absolutely correct. And people enter into it in such a cavalier fashion. It's everywhere. And it's just, and that's why our society is so colossally fucked up, because you want to get you want to get married, you want to have kids, no qualifications, no tests, just go ahead and do it, and we'll work out your fuck up on the other end. And that's tearing.
And we're marrying the wrong people.
Because
because our divorce is going through the roof, and
through the roof.
Of us that are getting married, the divorce rate still stays high. So we're getting there's unrealistic expectations, I think, mostly, frankly, of women toward men. But maybe of men toward women too.
It goes both ways. It goes both ways. And talk about a failing of our fucking school system and academic system. Yeah. Okay, why the fuck shouldn't there be a course in high school and in college as well on choosing the right mate? Ever heard of that? I haven't.
Good education on who to look for.
Yeah.
But on going forward, I don't think it's right to punish the future people that you date with what the last woman did to you,
No.
because you're going to find a whole new person
Yes.
that may have nothing in common with the last person that you met. And you're going to be these people who are like once bitten, twice shy. It's like, the next person who you date has nothing to do with the last person, unless you just constantly pick the wrong idiot. And then that's your problem with picking the wrong one. When you're divorced 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, it's like, it's time to look in the mirror and say, you have terrible taste in women. It's time to let your best friend or anybody else put the red dot on a woman.
Yeah.
Put the red dot. So you only advocate marrying traditional Indian women. Got it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We had a lower divorce rate with arranged marriages than we do now when we got our wish. When you get your wish, people have a high divorce rate.
Okay,
You're right.
I've got 2 chats and 1 picture to show, and then we've got to end the stream. Lady Rackets is telling me, and I've actually got Thanksgiving with my in-laws tomorrow at my house, and I'm cooking the turkey.
Oh, I smell good food already.
Yeah. So let's see. she's griping at me now. Anyway,
Good girl. Good woman. Good woman.
Yeah.
I bless her.
Okay, so Landon says, Doug, you sadly don't get anime, you douche. Wow. Little tough. And then Peter Pete says we have more protection for animals than unborn children.
True.
And in many ways he's correct. And finally, guys, I want to show you what Lady Rackets got me for a housewarming gift. Because this
is this from Fredericks from Hollywood or something?
No, okay. I would never show that on stream. Thank you. Let's go ahead and put this on. Can you guys see this? Okay. Let me see if I can make it a little bit. Hold on.
It looks like a cabinet that you open up. It's got
it's a whiskey barrel.
Oh, yeah.
It's a whiskey barrel that you open up, and inside it is 2 Lazy Susans. The bottom is tall enough to fit like your standard
bottles,
whiskey
and the
bottle.
top for the shot glasses.
Top for the glasses, and those things on the side are 2 LED lights, and you can tell this is a charred bourbon barrel. So it's charred American oak on the inside. It is absolutely fantastic. How do you think a woman who thinks of you?
You just don't cheat on her, which is what,
She was really
your nature would take. You deny your nature every day. And that's a thank you enough. See, this is what all the guys are missing out on. A woman who thinks of them to craft a gift like that.
But the woman that made She-Ra, the new Netflix She-Ra, would say, why is that a lazy Susan and not a lazy Steven?
That's true. That's true. You get a mixed bag from modern women, and I apologize for that. The best thing to do is to go find a really old-fashioned woman. Maybe
the original She-Ra.
Maybe one from Saudi Arabia. Maybe like a recent convert to Americanism. Maybe might be more old-fashioned of what you're looking for. But yeah,
yes.
A good woman is hard to find. Is the Bible good woman hard to find?
Yes. Oh, and by the way, it smells beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It smells like bourbon.
It smells like bacon. They rubbed bacon on the inside of that thing.
Very cool.
So, anyways, well, guys, I think Doug stayed a little longer than he planned.
Yeah,
I've stayed personally an hour longer than I planned. I've got to get back to moving. It's just so much fun talking to you guys, and we'll definitely have to schedule another one with our mystery guest.
The mystery guest.
When he's ready, Larry and I were ready we'll load both barrels.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. So, thank you all for watching our show, for contributing, for asking questions, for engaging us. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my, not my heart, but something manlier, like my liver.
The bottom of your new barrel. Your barrel bar.
Bottom of the new barrel.
From the bottom of his crispy black liver.
So, anyways, thank you to my guests. Don't leave yet, guys. I'm going to close out the stream and I'll say goodbye to you personally. Thank you all to the chat. I will not be streaming probably over the weekend as I'll be finishing my move. I get internet in my new house on Sunday. So, Monday should have some video coming, a live stream or something like that. Stay tuned to my Twitter account. If you check the descriptions, you will get a link to Doug's show. You will get a link to Larry's show.
Oh,
Listen to both of them. Watch both. Well, watch Doug's show. Listen to Larry's show. Both are fantastic at what they do. Doug draws amazing art. He also interviews fantastic people. Larry tells stories in a way that you will not find anywhere else on this earth, and with the velvety voice to accompany it.
That's right.
Both of them are true gems of creators. So definitely check out their stuff in the description below. And thank you, gentlemen, and thank you to the audience. We'll talk to you all soon.
Chad Dads.
Chad Dads.
Absolutely. Thanks,
Thanks,
gentlemen.
Nick. Thanks, Doug.